and the chat's got soul. From the gavel to the gas, we're watching it all. Covering the courtroom, big case or small. Laugh when we can, cry when we must, but it's all real talk, you can count on us. We're not the pros, just fans who care. With popcorn in hand and a comfy chair. And every twist, we're right there. Together like we're all in the witness chair. This is the Broken Baker, where the trials come alive, where the chat is wild and the vibes survive. We're watching the worst of what people do, but we keep it light, yeah, that's our truth. It's the only place for crime, and it feels just right. We bring the justice talk into your night. So hit that stream, don't miss the call. At the Broken Baker, we cover it all. Oh yeah. We're just laymen with the view, but we ask the things the world wants to. Digging through the facts, side by side. Even when it's dark, we bring the light. No clickbait, no fake feels, just truth and the highs and the reels. With the chat that roasts and rides, we're just here for the case and the vibes. This is the Broken Baker, where the stories unfold with a smile in the heart, even when it's cold. Yeah, we cover the bad with a wink and a grin. Where the real talk starts, come on, jump in. It's the only place to be, can't you see? For trials and truth, it's BBTV. The Broken Baker, where the trials come alive. Yeah, we'll be here, trial and the trial. Yeah.
Good, welcome back for the afternoon stream. We are just about to get started.
And if you think I'm looking at one of you because I know you're wrong.
He is going to read the first 160 points of the jury instructions. Strap in. It's gonna be a wild ride. Funny. It's gonna be the most exhilarating thing ever. As you can see, oh shit, I forgot to do it Danish. Someone has reached out to me about something with the twin flames called. I know I've heard the name before. I don't know really what it's about, but they have asked if I might wanted to have them on and they could talk about their experience with a family member who was in connection to the twin flames cult. I know the name, but I just don't know why I know it. Apparently their compound was raided last year. And that's about the extent. So I'm just trying to see if you know about them, and maybe at some point, if it has interest, we could have them on and have a talk about what that twin flames thing is.
To follow in considering the evidence and in reaching your verdict. It is your duty to follow all of these instructions, regardless of any opinions you may have about what the law is or ought to be. You must base your verdict on the law I give you in these instructions. Apply that law to the facts in the case which have been properly proven by the evidence. Consider only the evidence received during this trial and the law as given to you by these instructions, and from these alone, guided by your soundest reason and best judgment, reach your verdict. If any member of the jury has an impression of my opinion as to whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty, disregard that impression entirely and decide the issues of fact solely as you view the evidence. You, the jury, are the sole judges of the facts, and the court is the judge of the law only. The first count in the information in this case charges that the defendant, Matthew E. Pahl, on or about Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, in the town of Delafield, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, did cause the death of Stephanie Pavlons with intent to kill that person. To this charge, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty, which means the state must prove every element of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. Here's the statutory definition of the crime. First-degree intentional homicide, as defined in 940.01 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin, is committed by one that causes the death of another human being with the intent to kill that person or another. Before you may find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the following two elements were present. Number one, the defendant caused the death of Stephanie Pavlons. Cause means that the defendant's act was a substantial factor in producing the death. Number two, the defendant acted with the intent to kill Stephanie Pavlons. Intent to kill means that the defendant had the mental purpose to take the life of another human being, or was aware that his conduct was practically certain to cause the death of another human being. While the law requires that the defendant acted with intent to kill, it does not require that the intent exists for any particular length of time before the act is committed. The act need not be brooded over, considered, or reflected upon for a week, a day, an hour, or even for a minute. There need not be any appreciable time between the formation of the intent and the act. The intent to kill may be formed at any time before the act, including the instant before the act, and must continue to exist at the time of the act. You cannot look into a person's mind to find intent. Intent to kill must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all the facts and circumstances, in this case, bearing upon intent. Intent should not be confused with motive. While proof of intent is necessary to a conviction, proof of motive is not. Motive refers to a person's reason for doing something. While motive may be shown as a circumstance to aid in establishing the guilt of a defendant, the state is not required to prove motive on the part of a defendant in order to convict. Evidence of motive does not by itself establish guilt. You should give it the weight you believe it deserves under all the circumstances. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant caused the death of Stephanie Pavlons with the intent to kill, you should find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. The second count on the information charges that the defendant, Matthew E. Pahl, on or about Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, in the town of Delafield, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, did hide a corpse with the intent to conceal a crime. To this charge, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty, which means the state must prove every element of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. The statutory definition of the crime. Section 940.11 sub 2 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin is violated by one who hides a corpse with intent to conceal a crime or avoid apprehension, prosecution, or conviction for a crime. Before you may find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements are present. Number one, the defendant hid a corpse. To hide means to put or keep out of sight. Number two, the defendant hid a corpse with intent to conceal a crime. This requires that the defendant acted with the purpose to conceal a crime. You cannot look into a person's mind to find out intent. Intent must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all the facts and circumstances, in this case, bearing upon intent. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that both elements of this offense have been proved, you should find the defendant guilty. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. In reaching your verdict, examine the evidence with care and caution. Act with judgment, reason, and prudence. Defendants are not required to prove their innocence. The law presumes every person charged with the commission of an offense to be innocent. This presumption requires a finding of not guilty unless in your deliberations you find it is overcome by evidence that satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. The burden of establishing every fact necessary to constitute guilt is upon the state. Before you can return a verdict of guilty, the evidence must satisfy you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. If you can reconcile the evidence upon any reasonable hypothesis consistent with the defendant's innocence, you must do so and return a verdict of not guilty. The term reasonable doubt means a doubt based upon reason and common sense. It is a doubt for which a reason can be given, arising from a fair and rational consideration of the evidence or lack of evidence. It means such a doubt as would cause a person of ordinary prudence to pause or hesitate when called upon to act in the most important affairs of life. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt which is based on mere guesswork or speculation. A doubt which arises merely from sympathy or from a fear to return a verdict of guilty is not a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt such as may be used to escape the responsibility of a decision. While it is your duty to give the defendant the benefit of every reasonable doubt, you are not to search for doubt, you are to search for the truth. An information is nothing more than a written formal accusation against a defendant charging the commission of one or more criminal acts. You are not to consider it as evidence against the defendant in any way. It does not raise any inference of guilt. Evidence is, first, the sworn testimony of witnesses, both on direct and cross-examination, regardless of who called the witness. Second, the exhibits the court has received, whether or not an exhibit goes to the jury room. Third, any facts to which the lawyers have agreed or stipulated, or which the court has directed you to find. Anything you may have seen or heard outside the courtroom is not evidence. You are to decide the case solely on the evidence offered and received at trial. The district attorney and the defense have stipulated or agreed to the existence of certain facts, and you must accept these facts as conclusively proved. In this case, the district attorney and the defense have stipulated to the following facts. In the first stipulation that I read to you, on August 20, 2022, the rainfall in the Waukesha/Pewaukee area was 0.50 inches. On August 25th, 2022, the rainfall in the Waukesha/Pewaukee area was 1.39 inches. On August 28th to 29th, 2022, the rainfall in the Waukesha/Pewaukee area was 0.34 inches. There was no other rainfall in the Waukesha/Pewaukee area between August 15th to September 9th, 2022. In the second stipulation, the parties agreed as follows: that during the search, Canine Raven exhibited 2 changes of behavior. That in his report, Deputy Willis stated that Detective LaFleur later confirmed the 2 vehicles Canine Raven exhibited changes of behavior on were involved in fatalities. 3, that Attorney Galaviz became the attorney of record in this case at the beginning of April 2025. That at that time, no one in the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department or the Office of the District Attorney had a comprehensive list of the vehicles that were in the garage on September 19, 2022. Next, that counsel for the defense made an open records request to the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. Next, that counsel for defense received reports related to the vehicles in the garage on September 19, 2022 from the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. Next, that counsel prepared a summary which was substantially similar to Exhibit 610. That summary was provided to Ms. Pescador. Circumstantial evidence. It is not necessary that every fact be proved directly by a witness or an exhibit. A fact may be proved indirectly by circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is evidence from which a jury may logically find other facts according to common knowledge and experience. Circumstantial evidence is not necessarily better or worse than direct evidence. Either type of evidence can prove a fact. Whether evidence is direct or circumstantial, it must satisfy you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed the offense before you may find the defendant guilty. Evidence has been presented regarding other conduct of the defendant for which the defendant is not on trial. Specifically, evidence has been presented that the defendant committed acts of domestic violence against Stephanie Pavlons in 2020 and 2021. If you find...
Zach, we are trying to find your roommate, forever lover, whatever it is.
And that the defendant acted in conformity with that trait or character with respect to the offenses charged in this case. The evidence was received on the issues of motive, that is, whether the defendant has a reason to desire the result of the offense charged. Intent, that is, whether the defendant acted with the state of mind that is required for the offense charged. Preparation or plan, that is, whether the other conduct of the defendant was part of a design or scheme that led to the commission of the offense charged. Absence of mistake or accident, that is, whether the defendant acted with the state of mind required for the offense charged. Context or background, that is, to provide more complete presentation of the evidence relating to the offense charged. You may consider this evidence only for the purposes I have described, giving it the weight you determine it deserves. It is not to be used to conclude that the defendant is a bad person and for that reason is guilty of the offense charged. The state has introduced evidence of statements which it claims were made by the defendant. It is for you to determine how much weight, if any, to give to each statement. In evaluating each statement, you must determine 3 things. Whether the statement was actually made by the defendant, only so much of a statement as...
I was very, very disappointed about her. I thought that she was obnoxious and belittling, especially to the last witness. I don't feel they have made a good case in this one. Can we fast forward to the verdict? No, Pixie. Bad Pixie.
Was actually made by a person may be considered as evidence. whether the statement was accurately restated here at trial, whether the statement or any part of it ought to be believed. You should consider the facts and circumstances surrounding the making of each statement, along with all the other evidence in determining how much weight, if any, the statement delivers. Remarks of counsel are not evidence. If the remarks suggested certain facts not in evidence, disregard the suggestion. An exhibit becomes evidence only when received by the court. An exhibit marked for identification and not received is not evidence. An exhibit received as evidence whether or not it goes to the jury room. Attorneys for each side have the right and the duty to object to what they consider are improper questions asked of witnesses and to the admission of other evidence which they believe is not properly admissible. You should not draw any conclusions from the fact an objection was made. By allowing testimony or other evidence to be received over the objection of counsel, the court is not indicating any opinion about the evidence. You jurors are the judges of the credibility of the witnesses and the weight of the evidence. Disregard entirely any question that the court did not allow to be answered. Do not guess at what the witness's answer might have been. If the question itself suggested that certain information might be true, ignore the suggestion and do not consider it as evidence. During the trial, the court has ordered certain testimony to be stricken. Disregard all stricken testimony. The weight of evidence does not depend on the number of witnesses on each side. You may find the testimony of one witness is entitled to greater weight than that of another witness or even of several other witnesses. In weighing the evidence, you may take into account matters of your common knowledge and your observations and experiences in the affairs of life. It is the duty of the jury to scrutinize and to weigh the testimony of witnesses and to determine the effect of the evidence as a whole. You are the sole judges of the credibility, that is, the believability of the witnesses and of the weight to be given to their testimony. In your determination of credibility, you must avoid bias, conscious or unconscious, based on the witness's race, national origin, religion, age, ability, gender identity, sexual orientation, education, income level, or any other personal characteristic. In determining the credibility of each witness and the weight you give to the testimony of each witness, consider these factors: whether the witness has an interest or lack of interest in the result of this trial, the witness's conduct, appearance, and demeanor on the witness stand,
Helena, it's because someone has reached out to me, and it's not that old. They just got raided last year, but it's a family of someone who used to be a member of the cult, so that's why I'm asking.
clearness or lack of clearness of the witness's recollections, the opportunity the witness had for observing and for knowing the matters the witness testified about, the reasonableness of the witness's testimony, the apparent intelligence of the witness, bias or prejudice, if any has been shown, possible motives for falsifying testimony, and all other facts and circumstances during the trial which tend either to support or to discredit the testimony. Then give to the testimony of each witness the weight you believe it should receive. There is no magic way for you to evaluate the testimony. Instead, you should use your common sense and experience. In everyday life, you determine for yourselves the reliability of things people say to you. You should do the same thing here. A defendant in a criminal case has the absolute constitutional right not to testify. The defendant's decision not to testify must not be considered by you in any way and must not influence your verdict in any manner. Ordinarily, a witness may testify only about facts. However, a witness with specialized knowledge in a particular field may give an opinion in that field. In determining the weight to be given to this opinion, you should consider the qualifications and credibility of the witness, the facts upon which the opinion is based, and the reason given for the opinion. Opinion evidence was received to help you reach a conclusion. However, you are not bound by any witness's opinion. In resolving conflicts in opinion testimony, weigh the different opinions against each other. Also, consider the qualifications and credibility of the witnesses and the facts supporting their opinions. During the trial, a witness was told to assume certain facts and then was asked for an opinion based upon that assumption. This is called a hypothetical question. The opinion does not establish the truth of the facts upon which it is based. Consider the opinion only if you believe the assumed facts upon which it is based have been proved. If you find that the facts stated in a hypothetical question have not been proved, then the opinion based on those facts should not be given any weight. Consider carefully the closing arguments of the attorneys, but their arguments and conclusions and opinions are not evidence. Draw your own conclusions from the evidence and decide upon your verdict according to the evidence, under the instructions given you by the court. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, as I indicated, I've read most of the instructions. The attorneys will now give closing statements. The state, because they have the burden of proof, goes first, the defense second, and then the state will have an opportunity for a rebuttal closing if they wish. Ms. Gordon?
Thank you, Judge.
Helena, are you talking about that that lawsuit that has to do with her being ill or something? I'm not sure I want to cover that. She is clearly very unwell. She's clearly extremely anorectic and apparently felt ill. It's not a lot to find out there other than a lot of TikToks. I don't have TikToks. And then she's been to Disney World and they were ordered to release some documents, but it's not a lot to look at, but it's horrible to watch someone this ill. So, I don't know. Well, it's not the video that I need. I need to see the articles and stuff like that. And I don't have TikTok, so please don't send me any TikToks. And I'm not getting TikTok right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time and your attention. I know it's been a long 7 days, jury selection, and then hearing a lot of tough, difficult evidence. I don't take that for granted, that it's hard for individuals off the street, on your normal everyday life, to hear some of the evidence that you've heard and seen, some of the photos that you've seen. So I appreciate the time and attention you've given to this case. In the state of Wisconsin versus Matthew Pahl, the state has to prove 2 elements on the charge of first-degree intentional homicide. We have to prove that the defendant caused the death of Stephanie Pavlon, meaning that the defendant's act was a substantial factor in producing her death, and that the defendant acted with the intent to kill Stephanie Pavlon. You heard from the medical examiner. She makes a medical determination. You, as the jurors, make a legal determination. Just because she was not able to determine a medical cause of death does not mean that you, as 12 jurors, cannot reach a conclusion that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant caused Stephanie Pavlon's death. Because you have the benefit of all the evidence that you heard over the last few days. You heard the text messages, you saw the Skype messages, you saw the phone evidence, you saw the interviews, and you know the history between Mr. Matthew Pahl and his longtime girlfriend, Stephanie Pavlon. You have more evidence here today than Dr. Scheel was able to review. But also, you make an entirely different determination. I don't have to prove as the state that there was a motive or that this act was premeditated. I think in this case there was a motive. I think in this case, Mr. Pahl was done with Stephanie.
You don't have to. You charged him with a murder that needs premeditation. The judge just read that.
Pavlon's. But I don't have to prove that, and you don't have to believe that I've proven a motive beyond a reasonable doubt. This is a circumstantial case. You heard all the evidence, and particularly with Detective Schrader, all of the cell phone evidence. That is circumstantial evidence, but that is just as good as direct evidence. For count 2, I have to prove that the defendant hid a corpse, and to hide means to put or keep out of sight, and that the defendant hid a corpse with the intent to conceal a crime. The body must be concealed. It doesn't have to be buried. It doesn't have to be covered up. It just has to be concealed, out of sight. Ms. Pavlon's body was clearly concealed, clearly out of sight, because for 17 days, golfers at the Western Lakes Golf Club did not see her body. For 17 days, employees at OAW came and left every day. Some even ate their lunch on a picnic table looking out towards those woods, and they did not see her body. For 17 days, patients came and went from OAW and did not see her body. And you heard Deputy Frischello say, if that construction worker had not pointed the body out to me, I would not have been able to find it. Those construction workers just happened upon the body. They didn't intend to find the body. They didn't know that that's what they were going to find that day. Those poor construction workers were just trying to do their job, put in some no trespassing signs. But what they came upon was a nightmare. Ms. Pavlon's body was also not visible to the drivers on I-94 or to the drivers on Gulf Road. You had the opportunity to go out there and see the scene yourself. So use your common sense and judgment. That body was concealed. That body was hidden. And the defendant intended for her body to be concealed. He didn't want anyone to find her. He didn't want anyone to know what had happened. Sure, he didn't dig a grave and put her in a grave, but he didn't have to, because in 17 days, her body was so decomposed that Dr. Scheel couldn't determine a cause of death, that the insect activity and the state of decomposition was so great that he left us with very little evidence at the scene. Ladies and gentlemen, the defense asked a lot of questions about Ms. Pavlon's mental health history, her suicide attempts. But ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear. This was not a suicide. This is Stephanie Pavlon's, on August 18th, her conversations with Mr. Zakos. Want to get together? You could come out to Delafield. We could get some dinner. Look at that picture of her. She looks happy. She looks upbeat. So how do we know this wasn't a suicide? She's making plans for her life. She's making plans with Mr. Zakos, or at least trying to. She's telling her doctor that she wants to work on some problems that she might have with her memory. She wants to do some testing. She's concerned about her health. Someone that's not planning to live doesn't make those plans for their life. And Dr. Rushell told you she was more upbeat when he saw her in May. She was thinking more positively, and she was concerned about her future health problems. She wanted to find ways to make her life better. She was taking care of herself. Mrs. Pavlon's told you that Stephanie was looking forward to going to the Philippines. She was excited to get her passport. That was Stephanie's plan. That certainly wasn't Mr. Pahl's plan. He didn't want Stephanie to go with him, but Stephanie was excited about the future. You saw on her cell phone that she had upcoming appointments, both doctor's appointments. She had dentist appointments. You heard from the dental scheduler that said, yeah, I called her a couple of times because she was planning for the future. There are no suicide attempts since March of 2021. Was Stephanie depressed? Yeah, absolutely. You saw those journal entries. Her life was terrible. But who made her life terrible? Mr. Pahl. His violent and abusive actions made her life miserable. He controlled her medications. He controlled her movements. He controlled her finances. He controlled every aspect of her life. She doesn't even have the ability to take her medication when and how it's prescribed. No, Mr. Pahl tells her when she can have her medications. She has to ask him for her own medications. She has no prescriptions with her in the woods. She's found in the woods, no purse, no water bottle, no drug paraphernalia, no prescriptions, nothing. Just a vape and a scalpel outside of the wooded area. The position of her body and the location of her body tell us this was not a suicide. Ms. Pavlons didn't go out there with the intention of ending her life. And finally, that note. The note that's found in Mr. Pahl's car, Exhibit 35. Mr. Pahl, initially in his interview, says, it was just a cry for help. That's what him and his dad thought. But here in court, they characterized that as a suicide note. But ladies and gentlemen, that was no suicide note. That was a breakup note. That was an I'm done with you note. The content is not consistent with a suicide note. And where it's found, think about that. Under the floor car mat, under a piece of foam on the floor of the passenger footwell. If Stephanie is committing suicide on August 23rd, she surely isn't leaving a message for Mr. Pahl under a piece of foam under the floor mat. We also know that this isn't a medical cause of death. You heard from Dr. Reschel. How powerful was that testimony? He told you that there was a less than 1% chance that a seizure would cause great bodily harm or even death. He said the only times he could think of a seizure causing a patient's death was if they had the unlucky occasion to be swimming while they had the seizure. Or maybe they were sleeping and they smothered themselves in their bedding. This was not a seizure. You can rule that out. This was not a suicide. So what is this? This was a homicide. Mr. Pahl is covering his tracks from August 23rd all the way until he's arrested on September 18th of 2023. He says to his girlfriend in the Philippines, "We will be ready." On August 19th, we know that there's a conversation between Mr. Pahl and one of his girlfriends in the Philippines, Ms. Sherilyn Valente, saying he's upset that Sherilyn and Stephanie have been talking. He tells her, "I'm asking you just to leave her alone." He doesn't want them communicating. And why? Because they don't know that Stephanie's living with him. They don't know that Stephanie and Mr. Pahl have a child in common, Layla. They don't know that Stephanie is not his employee, that it's his girlfriend, his longtime partner. He's hoping for a future in the Philippines with a good, honest girlfriend. What he means by that? Someone that will obey him, do exactly what he tells them, and let him control every aspect of their life. He wants to move on. He wants to be in the Philippines, and that does not include Stephanie. So on August 23rd, we see Ms. Pavlons leaving the apartment at 8:39 a.m.
Never show those videos again.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the last time Ms. Pavlons is ever seen entering, exiting that apartment. You saw her belongings. You watched that video over and over again. And I know we played it over and over again, but that video is so important because it tells us everything about Stephanie in her last moments of life. What is she wearing? What is she carrying? What does she have with her? On August 23rd, the defendant goes to his OAW appointment and he takes this picture, captured at 9:34. It's pretty curious. Why are you taking a picture in your appointment? But also look at those windows. Those windows were pointed out by the defense a couple of times with a couple of different witnesses. Those windows at the top, you can't see anything out of those. You can't see into the wooded area. And those windows all the way to the other side of the building, there's all kinds of workout equipment. People are being rehabbed, having physical therapy.
No time zone, time limit.
You can't see out those windows the way the defense wants you to believe. Then between 10:33, when Mr. Pahl's appointment is over, and 10:53 a.m., you saw these records. And these are so important, ladies and gentlemen, because they tell us that Mr. Pahl on the left and Ms. Pavlon's on the right, their cell phones are located at or near OAW for that entire time period.
In her car.
20 minutes, that's plenty of time. That's plenty of time for Mr. Pahl to kill Ms. Pavlon's. There's 20 minutes that's unaccounted for. What is Mr. Pahl doing during that time? He says he's driving up and down the road looking for Ms. Pavlon's because she's just disappeared. That's not supported by the records. That's not supported by the records, and Ms. Pavlon's device was there too. Then from 10:54 to 11:03, you heard from Detective Schrader that both of those devices returned to the residence. At 11:03, you see Mr. Pahl's truck enter the Willow Park Apartments parking lot. Then, for about 11 minutes, Mr. Pahl is in the parking lot. In his truck? We don't know. There's no cameras that look out that direction, but we know he's not inside yet. At 11:14 a.m., the defendant comes in carrying Ms. Pavlon's pink water bottle. Between 11:14 and 12:19, just over an hour, the defendant is inside of his apartment. You should have noticed that on that last video, Mr. Pahl didn't prop the door open. In fact, on any day, August 23rd or after, he doesn't prop the door open for Ms. Pavlon's because he knows she's not coming back.
This is such an amazing reach. What did he do all the days that she stayed with her parents? Oh. So, because he didn't prop the door, because remember that day when she wrote, "I'm here," and he went down and opened the door? She was also dead that day because he forgot to pop the door.
He knows where she is. She's in the woods. She's dead. She's not coming back. So he doesn't need to leave the door open. At 12:19, he exits the apartments. He walks outside towards the parking lot. And from 12:19 to 12:29, he's again outside in that parking lot. We don't know what he's doing. But at 12:29, he comes in. And what is Mr. Pahl carrying? Mr. Pahl is carrying this purse, concealed in a bag. Concealed in a bag so that no one sees him coming in with this distinctive looking purse. Because Ms. Pavlon's was last seen walking out. And he's not stupid. He knows there's cameras. You saw him in some of those videos that Attorney Delafield showed you. He's kind of ducking his head, trying to stay out of the camera view when he's letting Stephanie in. He knows he's on camera.
What?
He has to conceal that. That is a vital piece of evidence.
When?
Ladies and gentlemen, You can see from this, that is absolutely Miss Pavlon's purse that Mr. Pahl carries in that.
You can see from that. No, you can't. Come on now. Stop lying. And again, he found it in the back seat and he was bringing in his Chinese food and he put it in the same bag because no respectable man would ever carry a woman's purse.
Day. And he even tells law enforcement that he brought the purse back. He just lies about how that happened. Then on August 23rd, that afternoon, he makes 2 calls from Stephanie's phone. 2 calls to her food share card, checking her account. Why make those calls from her phone? According to him and what he tells law enforcement, he hasn't even found the phone yet. But we know that that's him using the phone. Mr. Pahl doesn't have visitors. Mr. Pahl and Miss Pavlons don't have friends. It's just the 2 of them. And if Miss Pavlons isn't there to make those calls, it's Mr. Pahl. Sorry. On August 24th, he then makes a call to Pick and Save Pharmacy because he's going to pick up her prescription for alprazolam. He's also prescribed alprazolam, but he wants her alprazolam. Then on August 25th, he says, I'm really worried about somebody in my circle. 2 days have gone by. You saw no evidence that he called 911, said, oh my gosh, my girlfriend's missing. This is concerning. He doesn't call family members. No, he calls the pharmacy and he calls her food share. What is he really worried about? He's really worried that he's going to get caught because he killed Stephanie. He calls the Pick and Save Pharmacy again on the 25th, and then he deletes that call. You should be asking yourselves, if he wasn't doing anything wrong, if Mr. Pahl had nothing to hide, why does he delete the call to Pick and Save Pharmacy? If he was really just picking up her prescription because he was just being a good guy, then why delete the call? That day at 3:17, he picks up her prescription, which, important to note, that bottle's found at his apartment on September 17th. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's empty. Stephanie Pavlons has not once been at that apartment to use her prescription. And yet,
He's a drug
the prescription bottle is empty. He says that night to his friends in the Philippines, hoping something bad didn't happen, I'm getting even more worried. Yeah, I bet he's worried. It's been 2 days since Stephanie was last seen alive on camera. He knows she's dead. He knows that he could be in trouble. Stephanie gets a missed call from her daughter Layla on the 25th. He doesn't answer that Facebook call. He doesn't call Layla back. And again, he doesn't do anything. In fact, on that day, the defense showed you video of him sitting in the lobby, reading the newspaper, just going about his everyday life. Not the kind of guy that looks really worried about someone in his circle. He's really worried about himself. On August 26th, there's an email with Sherlyn Valente. He says, I think something bad happened here. Don't ask me through text. Over and over, he says, don't ask me through text. Something bad happened here. Like you murdered your girlfriend? That would be something bad. He says he woke up with a bad feeling. Yeah, a bad feeling that what he's doing is going to get him caught. His web history, he's searching for obituaries, searching Stephanie's name. Not a single soul in the world, except for Mr. Pahl, knows that Stephanie Pavlons is dead on August 26th. Not law enforcement, not Mr. and Mrs. Pavlons, not Layla Pavlons, Mr. Pahl. This is now 3 days after Stephanie is killed, and these messages about being worried, they just keep coming. Then on August 26th, he has...
I came out of the office. She wasn't there. Her phone was in the truck, her water bottle, and she just left. She's done it before. Normally, she'll turn up about 20 days later. But hey, she got her pills prescribed. I'm going to get high as fuck. Or I'm going to sell it. I sincerely hope the defense says the same things I say. Or this guy is going to be toast because this lady is just speculating all over the place.
Stephanie has 3 missed calls from Layla on Facebook. Then Layla calls her phone. She's so worried about her mom. Why aren't you answering the phone? She calls and calls and calls. And we know that 17 minutes later, Mr. Pahl listens to that voicemail. We know that. You can see from this evidence. Is this circumstantial? Absolutely. but it shows that it is Mr. Pahl that listens to that voicemail. Because what happens next? He says, "My niece called, left message. She's in hospital and broke her leg." My God, what next? See, he didn't tell his girlfriends in the Philippines that he had a daughter with Stephanie, because maybe they wouldn't want to be with him. He's creating this fantasy life in the Philippines to escape his real life, his daughter, his longtime girlfriend, and he says Layla is his niece. But then there's all those bring to focus of the police scanner app. See, Mr. Pahl knows that Stephanie's isolated. He knows that she doesn't have any friends. He knows that she doesn't have anyone in her life that's going to be looking for her. Except for maybe Layla, except for maybe Mrs. Pavlons. And Mrs. Pavlons told you they'd go weeks without hearing from her. She's an adult. She's living with her boyfriend. It's not that uncommon. But she eventually comes back.
And vice
She eventually
versa.
comes and stays at their house. Mr. Pahl had a choice on August 25th and August 26th. If he was really worried about Stephanie, if she really just walked off the way he said she did, he could have picked up the phone and talked to Layla. He could have said, "Hey, I have Mom's phone here. I'm really worried." But that's not what he did. That's not what he did because he killed Stephanie. We also know that on August 26th, for the first time in over a month, or over 2 months, Mr. Matthew Pahl calls his dad Marvin Pahl. This is very suspicious. They haven't talked in a long time. They don't talk regularly, clearly. And then on August 27th, August 28th, they talk. 9/8, 9/9, 9/10, 9/11, 9/12, 9/13, 9/14, 9/15, and 9/17. He's calling his dad almost every day, repeatedly. And he's talking about his conversations with his girlfriends. So on August 27th, he calls his dad. And while he's on the phone with his dad, we know his dad is searching Stephanie Pavlons. Why is Marvin searching for Stephanie Pavlons? That's mighty suspicious. On August 28th, he says, "I can't explain in text." See, if Stephanie's missing, or she killed herself, why can't he explain that in text? Ladies and gentlemen, the reasonable explanation here, he can't explain in text because he doesn't want to leave a trail. He thinks he's covering his trail. He thinks he's being smart about this. He's not texting about certain things. But he didn't know that we would know Stephanie's phone went to OAW and came back. He didn't know that we'd be able to look through her entire phone, find some things that he deleted. He didn't know that we were smarter than him because he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Ask yourself, why? Then on August 29th, he again searches obituaries, and this time Pavlons. Detective Schrader said he was conservative in how he listed these web histories, that each time he listed a web history, that was because it was a new and unique search.
I believe that's the name of the person who reached out to me. I'm just asking questions, Zach. I don't know much about it, so I don't know what it's all about. Why does Zach know? Does Zach have a life? He knows everyone and is in everyone's chat.
Telling you that Mr. Pahl was making a new search for Miss Pavlons on August 29th. Again, no one in the world on August 29th, except for Mr. Pahl, knows that Stephanie Pavlons is deceased. Then this really weird exchange happens on September 4th. He poses as Stephanie. Mr. Pahl uses Stephanie's account to reach out to his girlfriend in the Philippines because they haven't been talking because he's been mad at her.
It's Cyber Chick. Zach, get it right. She's in chat now. Hey, but as you can see, it seems like my viewers would be interested in having you on. So let's find a day. Well, Zach will call everyone chicken, but that's because, have you ever seen him in a pair of shorts? Colonel Sanders couldn't even sell those chicken legs.
He wants her back, but he's not going to be the one to reach out. So he reaches out through Stephanie's account. He sends her these messages. Hey, what's happened with you and Matt? And then suddenly, Matt and Sherlyn start to talk again. On September 7th, he has this conversation. You had more than a year to be friends with Steph. Suddenly you act like a friend. She says, I'm sorry about Steph. She wasn't being a good friend, and to just leave it alone. He's mad. He's pretending to be mad because he doesn't want them to talk. But he knows, Mr. Pahl knows. Sherlyn wasn't talking to Stephanie. She was talking to Matt. And the day before, on September 6th, we know that he drives around the backside of OAW. You saw those really slowed dash cams as he comes around the back, just looking at that little wooded area where he left Miss Pavlon's body. He's looking to see if anyone found her, and on that day he goes to the car wash. He says that's the day he found the note. That's the day he found the purse. But the evidence suggests otherwise. Then on September 9th, he's supposed to go to OAW. He has another appointment, but when he gets there, he is not expecting to see the law enforcement presence that is there. He is so caught off guard. He is so surprised. You saw him on that dash cam. He's in the right lane of travel, and he's like, whoop, nope, not going in there. Definitely not going in there right now. Got to figure this out. Ooh, what should I do? Yeah, I should probably drive all the way down into a subdivision, turn around, get my wits about me. He's probably thinking, if I don't go to the appointment.
Isn't he a massive drug addict as well? Maybe he doesn't like the popo. Maybe he was looking at it and say, oh my God, what are they doing? Oh, fuck, I missed my exit.
That'll look really suspicious. I'll go there. I'll try and find out what they're doing. I'll try and get an eye on what's going on. He doesn't just make a quick U-turn either. He drives all the way down into that subdivision, all the way to the end, and then turns around.
This is closing arguments. It's not part of anything. It's not evidence. This is just her summary of what she believes the evidence has shown. So she is allowed to lie, cheat, and steal like Eddie Guerrero, as long as she kind of stays close to the facts of the case.
Panicked. He knows why they're there. He's the only person in the world that knows whose body is laying in those woods. He knows why they're there. He knows what they're doing, and he knows the jig is up. If he's not careful, if he doesn't cover his tracks, if he doesn't act carefully over the next few days, he's going to be in big trouble. So while he's at his appointment, he checks a police scanner. He calls his dad. And when he drives into OAW...
No, he checks it at OAW as well.
On September 9th, these are zoomed in stills of that dash camera. Look back into the woods, ladies and gentlemen. You can't see any of those detectives that are working in the area where the body was found. You can't see anything.
Can you see what I can see? 3 police cruisers right here. Then you go and open the scanner and someone says, potential female, 35 to 45, found at the golf course. Body severely decomposed. Facial structure, facial features gone. Very hard to identify. I think we need the coroners. And then you start Googling. Why did he need to see the cops walking around over there? There are literally 3 cop cars right here. He has the police scanner that he, as we know, used beforehand. So he starts that, and then he hears that they are asking for a crime scene unit, or they're asking someone to come bring the body to the morgue. And on the scanner, they will mention that it's a female. No, you got yourself timed out on every single show you're on.
That body was concealed. Mr. Pahl, on September 9th, when he drives in, he can't see what they're doing back there.
I'm the
but
only
he knows.
Place where Zach has
this just proves how concealed that area is. It's concealed in plain sight. It's concealed in a busy area, but everybody's busy. Everybody's focusing on their own day, their appointment, their job, their drive. How many times have you thought, man, I just got to work and I don't remember getting here? Because you're focused on your own day. The people at OAW couldn't see what Matt hid. After his appointment, you heard him on the scanner as he walks out. He's outside of OAW for a little bit before he gets in his car, and then he goes right to his dad's house, where he and his dad talk things over. He doesn't approach the cops. He doesn't say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you guys are here. I've been so worried about my girlfriend. She walked away from my car here 17 days ago. I had no idea. I have no idea where she is. No. He drove away. He didn't talk to police. He talked to his dad. While he's at his dad's house, look at these web searches. Stephanie Pavilions, missing woman found dead. Does anyone know that Stephanie Pavlons has been found dead on September 9th? Well, Mr. Pahl. Mr. Pahl knows. Maybe Marvin, based on these searches. The police definitely don't know that day. Waukesha police scanner, news happening today in Waukesha. Again, missing woman found dead. Body found by construction worker, dead. These searches, they tell you that Mr. Pahl knew what happened to Stephanie. They tell you that he was the one responsible for what happened to Stephanie. Then on September 9th, you heard testimony that the only other time he used the elevator was when his dad came over to spend the night. They took the elevator up to his apartment on the 3rd floor, and his dad spends the night. Then on September 10th, in the morning, Mr. Pahl reads this article, dead body found by construction crew in Delafield. And you heard over and over again the testimony that no one knew that this was a woman. On September 10th, we don't even know who the body is. We don't know who the identity of that person is. And then at 8:26 p.m., Mr. Marvin Pahl is searching Stephanie Pavlons. On September 11th, he says he's wondering why all this bad shit now is grieving time. What are you grieving? You're grieving Stephanie because you killed her. Who's dead? No one knows that Stephanie's dead. Nobody but Mr. Pahl. He certainly doesn't seem like he's been grieving. He's been chatting daily with both of his girlfriends in the Philippines. He's going about his life. No huge change in pattern for Mr. Pahl. He's just going about his life, taking walks, taking her phone with him when he goes to appointments, random places out in the city of Waukesha. Who knows why he's doing that? But we know Stephanie Pavlons isn't making that phone move. The only reasonable explanation is that Mr. Pahl was taking the phone. Then Mrs. Pavlons calls Stephanie, her mom. Her mom calls her. And Mr. Pahl, her partner of 20 years, doesn't answer the phone and say, hey, Georgianne, I know things are really strained between us, but I'm worried. I haven't heard from her. I haven't seen her. I don't know what's going on with her. Have you seen her? Have you heard from her? No, he doesn't do that. Defense is going to say, well, he's just a bad boyfriend. He's a really bad boyfriend, and you don't have to like him, but, you know, it is what it is. That doesn't mean he killed her. If he didn't kill her, why doesn't he answer the phone? If he didn't kill her, why does he check the voicemail and then go on with his day? He then calls his dad at 6:36 p.m., and that night he says, I had a long talk with Dad. We will be ready. Ready for what? Ready for the police? Ready for the investigation that's going to follow? Ready for the search warrants that will happen? Ready for what?
Yeah, you don't know.
The family called someone and said nobody has seen her. The family. Mrs. Pavlons. Because Mrs. Pavlons called her that day. And Matt knows, Mr. Pahl knows, that the only people in her life that are actually going to raise some alarms or might be concerned about her are her mother and her father and her daughter. Then on September 12th, again, web searches for obituaries and funeral services. Now keep in mind, this is the day that Mr. and Mrs. Pavlons learn that their daughter is deceased. They're notified on that day by Detective Fredericks and Detective Plennis. They make the death notification. And on that same day, Mr. Pahl, who has not been notified by law enforcement, is searching for her obituary. Mrs. Pavlon calls again that day. Mr. Pahl still doesn't answer. He deletes the call to the voicemail, and Marvin is checking CCAP and dead body found by construction worker. Dead body found in Delafield. September 14th, if you don't hear from me because something happens, I'll get with you ASAP. In case something bad happens, he says a lot of chatter about this and that, but nothing concrete, not texting anymore. This is a constant theme. He won't put it in text because he knows if he put it in text, I'd be reading it here, right here for you in court. He knows that. He's not that stupid. He knows he has to be careful. He can't text it, followed by calls. What are they talking about on the calls? We're never going to know that. Then on September 15th, he says, driving back from dad's, got my banking business done for overseas traveling. Says to the other girlfriend, Sherlyn, did banking business for overseas travel. Then he sends a message from Stephanie's phone to his phone. And this is the only remaining message between Stephanie and Mr. Pahl on her device. Some YouTube link, some article about ETF. I don't know what the significance of that is, but I do know the fact that that's the only remaining message means that Mr. Pahl had been very busy deleting things. And we know he was very busy deleting things because Detective Schrader explained this to you. 380 messages are deleted between March 17th and June 17th. 442 messages deleted between June 17th and August 15th. And 93 messages deleted between August 15th and September 14th. All kinds of things we know were deleted after September 8th because Detective Schrader testified about that snapshot that came up on her phone that no one would be able to see, right? That he could look through her phone and find. And it had text messages and calls, all of which are deleted. That snapshot's taken on September 8th. So sometime between September 8th and September 17th, Mr. Pahl was deleting things. I don't know when he deleted all these messages. I don't know if he deleted these messages. But I do know that there are no messages between Stephanie and Mr. Pahl. That's pretty curious, given that they're so close. They spend so much time together. Why are all those messages gone? If Miss Pavlons is just missing, if she's just walked off, if she's committed suicide, why is he deleting things? Why is he deleting voicemails? He's covering his tracks. He will be ready. And 66 times, he brings to focus the police scanner app on 9/9. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've talked about all the cell phone evidence now that points to Mr. Pahl being guilty of this, of the state proving beyond a reasonable doubt circumstances.
Again, the day he sees multiple troop trucks, he searches 66 times, which would probably, as you can see, this guy likes to open this app and figure out what the hell's going on. Why didn't he open it that day? Oh, that's not suspicious that he's not checking if anyone found the body. Why did he open it a lot on the 31st of August, but he didn't do it the days before? This is the day she disappears, the 23rd. Doesn't open it, open it twice. Then he opens it 21 times. 6, 13, 10, 8, 31, 9, 9, 10, 7, 8, 7, 5, 6, 0, 3, 66 the day he sees all the cop cars. The next day, 23, then 8. Oh, he didn't care that day. He was just like, nah, it'll be fine. 9/11 is the day they notify people, I believe. Then he looks again. No, that's the day he's called to the Popo. I can't remember what day. Or is it the 13th he's called to the Popo? And then, I don't care anymore. Of course, he's looking the day where there are 1 million cop cars outside of the orthopedic surgeon's office.
Evidence that Mr. doesn't prove anything. That there are no messages.
Where the hell did that go? Why did it skip?
Mr. Pahl was the person that caused the death of Stephanie Pavlons. I want to talk to you about that interview. I know that was a lot of days ago, and a lot has happened since then. But let's talk through some of those inconsistencies that he had in his interview. When he's asked about the phone, he gives a few different versions. First, he says, well, I found it when I found the purse, which is on September 6th when he's at the car wash. But then he says, no, she didn't have her phone that day. She left it at the apartment. Because I said, oh, I'll text you when I'm done with my appointment. And she said, oh, I left it at the apartment. See, but he didn't know that we could track her phone. He didn't know when he made that lie to the police that we had tracked her phone to OAW and back. So he got caught in a lie. And what does he do? Oh, well, I thought, maybe her mom picked her up. Well, how could you call her mom? Well, I couldn't call her because, she didn't have her phone because I had her phone. Right. He's trying to cover his tracks. He doesn't know what we know. So during the interview, he's constantly asking law enforcement, well, what do you know? Well, what did you see out there? Well, what was going on in the woods? What were you guys doing yesterday? He's trying to gather information from them so he can weave his story together. And he weaves some truth in with the lies because he thinks that'll make it more believable.
I believe he went to the ER again yesterday. I haven't heard anything since then.
When he's asked about the purse, he says, well, I found it at the car wash. Before he knows he's caught in the lie, he says, yeah, it was the black purse. Yeah, that black purse, sure. Yeah, I brought that in. He's asked, well, how did you bring it in? He's like, well, it would look strange if I just, carried it on my shoulder.
Yeah.
But he never answers the question directly. And then, when confronted, he says, oh, that's not the purse. That doesn't prove anything. That doesn't prove anything. Well, Mr. Pahl, it proves a lot of things. It proves that you knew Stephanie wasn't coming back. It proves you had the purse on August 23rd. Why did you have her purse on August 23rd? Then he says, oh, no. It was a different purse that I found on September 6th. It was a gray purse. Okay. The damage was already done. We'd already caught him in a lie. When he's asked about the note, he claims to have also found that at the car wash. And at one point even says, oh, well, if I had found the note and the purse together, then I would have been really worried. I probably would have done something. About that. Well, he didn't. He didn't do anything about that. He didn't find the purse and the note together at the car wash. You saw that video. He wasn't like, oh my God, a note from Stephanie. I didn't know she left this. No. He takes the mats out, he hangs them up, comes back. He doesn't vacuum the car. He doesn't spray down the mats. He just takes them out and puts them back in. See, because here's where Mr. Pahl's deliberate. He knew there was video. He knew we were watching. He's trying to cover his tracks every day. Bit by bit, he's trying to create a narrative.
What?
He doesn't say it's a suicide note that day when he's interviewed. He doesn't say, yeah, I thought Stephanie tried to kill herself based on this note. That's not what he says. And he also doesn't tell law enforcement that it's going to be found under a piece of foam under his car mat. That was weird. He cannot remember the last time that he saw Stephanie. It's more than 20 minutes, maybe even more than 40 minutes into the interview before he finally nails down, well, I think we went mattress shopping the day before. Okay, well, what happened the next day? Mr. Pahl? Yeah, I think I went to OEW. Yeah, I think she went with me, but I don't know. Did you stop anywhere? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, no, actually, when I came out of my appointment, she was just gone. Ladies and gentlemen, that makes absolutely no sense. He doesn't have a story that fits the evidence. He tried to cover his tracks. He tried to do things that he thought would be distracting to us, but we found the evidence. The cell phones changed the game. Throughout that interview, he's trying to control the narrative, say that this was suicide, bring up every time they try to ask, well, when was the last time you saw her? Oh, well, she's really suicidal. Yeah, she's a basket case. She's got problems. Let me tell you about all her problems. He doesn't sound like someone that's worried about the well-being of his girlfriend. He doesn't sound like someone that's concerned that she might be deceased, because he knows what happened, and he's trying to spin a web of lies. We know that after this, he travels to the Philippines. He goes to be with his girlfriend in the Philippines, and he comes back. Why did he go to the Philippines? Well, maybe he went there to be with his girlfriends. Maybe he was hoping to move there, get away from this case. He hadn't been charged yet. Avoid any charges, which is why that extradition note, that's what we've called it, the note that's found in his apartment saying extradition yes, extradition no, that's why that's so significant. He's looking for countries where he can't be brought back here to face the justice.
You don't know that. The testimony was, we don't know when that note was written. Do you have any Google searches linking that note to as reference time for when he was Googling? You have all the rest of his Googling. Why don't you have a Google search saying which countries have a non-extradition agreement with America? You have a piece of paper that could be from that day, the year before, and 10 years before. Your own off. I'm just so scared it's going to be Mr. True that's going to go up there and mumble through 2 hours of bullshit.
Justice that Stephanie Pavlons deserves. He's not the smartest criminal. He's not the stupidest criminal. I don't have to prove to you that he's extra smart or that he made dumb decisions. Some of the things that he did don't make sense. You might be thinking, well, if he did this, why wouldn't he just dump his phone in the river? Well, I don't know. But he did it. And we have that evidence. And the phone evidence is powerful. The phone evidence is circumstantial, but bit by bit, as Detective Schrader went through that timeline, the state built its case. And Ms. Opper in her opening asked you to be patient. And I know you all were patient with the state as we built our case. Because this isn't a case where we had an eyewitness. This isn't a case where we had the homicide on video. We had to do hard work to prove this case. Each piece of evidence builds on one another. No single piece of evidence is determinative in this case. But each piece shows you the kind of person that Mr. Matthew Pahl was, shows you the relationship that Stephanie Pavlons had with Mr. Pahl, and ultimately that Stephanie Pavlons met her demise on August 23rd because of the actions of the defendant. This is a circumstantial case, ladies and gentlemen. I ask that you carefully consider each of the pieces of evidence that were presented to you, that you look at all of the evidence in a whole, not close up, one by one, because it's each piece put together that shows beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Pahl is not only guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, but that he also intentionally concealed Stephanie's body. And because he did that, because she was concealed, she was eaten by insects, her body decomposed so greatly to the point that there was no DNA evidence, there's no cause of death, but that doesn't change the other evidence we have. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking that you find the defendant guilty of both counts 1 and 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if I could just make sure that our side works.
50 minutes, roughly.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, thank God it's not the other one.
Good afternoon. You, the jury, are now charged with trying to assemble the recipe for the charged offenses on
I
August
forgot
23rd of
the egg.
2022. You have certain major ingredients. We know that Matthew Pahl and Stephanie Pavlons had been in some type of relationship for well over 23 years. Again, they had an adult daughter, Layla, together. We know Stephanie and Matthew never married. They had an on-again, off-again relationship. Stephanie spent periods of time with Matthew, and she spent extended periods of time at her parents' home in Delafield. Her driver's license was for the Delafield home, and she listed the Delafield home to medical providers. We know in 20 and 21, Matthew communicated regularly with at least 2 girls in the Philippines. Stephanie was not only aware of this, but she also communicated with at least one and likely both of them. We know Matthew and Stephanie
I
had
have it on
medical issues,
1.25.
and both were taking prescription medication. We know Stephanie had a history of mental health issues, including suicide attempts. We know in the summer of 2022, Matthew broke his foot and needed to go through several months of physical therapy. And then we know Stephanie stayed at Matthew's apartment the night of August 22nd, 2023.
It's not beyond reasonable doubt fondue that we are all going to enjoy. Cheapest, this defense team has been horrible. How are you doing, Catnut Williams? Hope you're doing absolutely fantastic.
The next morning, they left the apartment building and drove to Orthopedic Associates in the town of Delafield, and they stopped at Quick Trip on the way. Matthew attended his therapy appointment, then drove directly back to his apartment, and Stephanie was no longer with him. We know on the morning of September 9th of 2022, some workers were placing those no trespassing signs around that wooded area, and they located Stephanie Pavlon's body. Finally, we know the Waukesha County Medical Examiner cannot determine the cause or manner of death for Stephanie Pavlons. You as a jury have heard 7 days of testimony. You've heard from 28 witnesses and seen hundreds of exhibits. That testimony and that evidence does not provide the full picture, and they are not the necessary ingredients, and they are not sufficient for the crimes charged. I also would like to thank you as the jury. You've made sacrifices from work, you've made sacrifices from your family. This is not only your civic duty, but we all have a desire to see that justice and fairness are preserved. You've given Mr. Pahl the opportunity to have his day in court, and I believe we have demonstrated he is not guilty of these crimes. If you remember back to jury selection, the questions were meticulous, they were repetitive, and they were selective. And I want you to think about why. Why is because we wanted 12 people who could reason, we wanted 12 people who could listen carefully to the evidence, and we wanted 12 people who could apply common sense. remember back to jury selection again that you promised to presume Mr. Pahl innocent. And again, he was innocent in the eyes of the law, and I hope and trust that you presented him innocent at the onset of this case. Finally, you promised to hold the government to the burden of proving Mr. Pahl guilty of these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. And I call upon you to abide by that promise. You've all heard the phrase reasonable doubt. It's been mentioned in this and other trials. The judge will provide you a definition of it, and the state has the burden of proving each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. Prosecutors, lawyers, and even police officers work within standards that are called burdens of proof. Burdens of proofs are levels of certainty as to whether a fact is true. Perhaps the lowest burden is a mere hunch or a suspicion. The next level would be reasonable suspicion. And reasonable suspicion is defined as having specific facts that a specific individual did something wrong. Reasonable suspicion is needed for a police officer to make an involuntary contact like a traffic stop. Next would be probable cause. Probable cause is a reasonable amount of suspicion, supported by circumstances sufficiently strong to justify a person's belief that certain facts are probably true. Probable cause is needed to arrest an individual for a criminal act. Then there's preponderance of evidence, which would be the next burden, and this is a balance of probabilities. And it is met if there is more than a 50% chance a fact is true. This is a general standard in civil cases. The next burden is clear and convincing evidence, and this means that a fact is highly and substantially more probable to be true. Finally, we have your burden of proof. Proof that something is true beyond a reasonable doubt. Again, this is proof of something so convincing that you would be willing to rely upon it without hesitation in the most important aspects of your life. This is something you have been told, and there is no plausible reason to believe otherwise. A criminal conviction is something so important that our legal system requires the government to prove someone committed each and every element of each charged offense beyond a reasonable doubt. Again, Mr. Pahl is charged with 2 offenses. The judge read the jury instructions, which give you the specific elements. I ask you to please review those elements very carefully. Reasonable doubt does not require you have the exact measurements of every required ingredient. However, it does require at the end you have a proper cake. I'm comfortable that the government has not met its burden. You need to sort through all the items in your pantry. See what is needed for the recipe. You need to focus on what relates to those events of August 23rd and how or if those ingredients even contribute to the proper recipe. Tragically, Miss Pavlon's body was found in the woods on September 9th. Mr. Pahl was the last person seen with her. The police interviewed Georgianne Pavlon's, and they reviewed some surveillance video. They arrest Mr. Pahl, they search his apartment, his car. A week later, they interview Matthew and his family. They hold Matthew for 3.5 hours, then interview him for 2. But they have to release him. A year later, after spending hundreds, if not thousands of hours focusing on Matthew Pahl's movements and his electronic communications, they arrest him. They conduct yet another search of his apartment, and they charge Matthew Pahl with first-degree intentional homicide. But there is reasonable doubt. The state has pointed out that Matthew must be guilty because he appeared to know something between August 23rd and September 17th. Stephanie drove with him to that scheduled appointment at Orthopedic Associates on August 23rd. Stephanie spent much of her time otherwise at the family home in Delafield, so she had a safe place to stay. Stephanie received SSDI for income. She had support from her parents. They drove her, and she had electronics at the house. Though she left her phone in the truck, she could text, Skype, and email on iPads. Most of her calls and texts were actually with Matt. Stephanie had emotional issues, and she also kept to herself. When he came out of his scheduled appointment, Stephanie was no longer there. He drives around a bit, but the cell phone mapping shows he didn't go much more than 300 meters or about 1,000 feet from the area of the appointment. But he would give Stephanie her space. He went home, he brought her stuff up to the apartment, so it was there when she returned. Matthew goes about his life. He checks the mail, he reads the paper, he goes for a bike ride, and he follows his routine. A few days go by, and he starts to express concern. You saw that in his communications. As you heard, Matthew is private, and he is paranoid of the government. He is worried that if something happened to Stephanie, he will be blamed. Then comes September 9th. Matthew sees a large police presence right next to Orthopedic Associates, and that's where he last saw Stephanie. His concern and his paranoia are really going. By the clothing and longer hair, all present deputies, officers, and detectives are aware the body is that of a female. By the shoes, we know that at least one of the construction workers knew it was a woman. The police talk with, they conduct interviews with people on the scene, including OAW employees, and onlookers during the 4 to 5 hours they are on scene. Matthew monitors police scanners. He Googles the newspaper for stories, and he skims obituaries. Personally, I don't find this behavior suspicious. If someone I knew was missing, I'd do the same thing. He is now very concerned about Stephanie's whereabouts and her condition. Matthew has had contact with police before. His worry, his paranoia, concern for himself continues to grow. You are shown his interview from September 17th. Yes, he is evasive. Yes, he is paranoid. And yes, he does not recall some specifics. Keep in mind, this is 25 days after he last saw Stephanie. The Waukesha City Police Tactical Unit had burst into his apartment. His home is searched. He's arrested. He's taken back to the sheriff's department, placed in a holding room for 3.5 hours, then read his Miranda rights. Yet what does he do? Despite all that, he actually speaks to officers for 2 hours. Then he's released. Despite his paranoia, the government has taken issue that Matthew didn't report her missing. We know Stephanie and Matthew had this on-again, off-again relationship, and Stephanie spent the time at her family home in Delafield. She received her mail at the Delafield house, and again, she used that address for medical records. We know Stephanie had a spare phone, an older phone at the house. She had other electronics still at her parents' home. Georgianne Pavlons also said that after the move from West Avenue to Delafield Street, Stephanie kept most of her stuff at that house. Finally, we were told Stephanie was very private. It was not unusual for Stephanie to have periods of no contact. No one, no friends, not Layla, not Georgianne Pavlons, despite an unanswered text August 25th, and not Richard Pavlons. No one reported her missing. The government made issue of the fact that Matthew accessed and occasionally used some electronics and even social media for Stephanie. Matthew and Stephanie spent time together. They worked together. Matthew recently bought one of Stephanie's cell phones for her, and he paid the phone costs and the data costs for both of them. The state even showed us a Skype exchange between one of the girls from the Philippines and Stephanie's account shortly after August 23rd. Ms. DeCierto sent 20-plus messages to Stephanie's account. Matthew responded once, maybe twice, pretending to be Stephanie. He was fishing, trying to see what Ms. DeCierto thought of Matthew. Then we saw Matthew quickly revealed it was him by mentioning spanking. He ended his trickery quickly. The government took issue with the fact that some calls were deleted from Stephanie's phone and maybe some texts. They make a big deal that Matthew was using Stephanie's phone, sending Facebook messages and Skype messages. But you saw Matthew's interview. He didn't tell the police, hey, her phone's been used. She's sending messages. She must be alive and well. There was no trickery like that. I honestly don't know why he did what he did, but it certainly doesn't prove that Matthew killed Stephanie Pavlons. What about the alprazolam prescription that Matthew picked up for Stephanie on August 25th? We know that particular bottle was found empty 3 weeks later. It was mentioned by the state on September 17th. We also know that at that time, both Matthew and Stephanie were prescribed that medication. We know Matthew monitored Stephanie's prescriptions. We heard testimony that medication was often carried in their pockets. We know police thoroughly checked Matthew's apartment and his truck. We never heard if any alprazolam in the prescription bottle or otherwise was found anywhere else during those searches. Then there's the black purse. Again, Stephanie and Matthew were frequently in and out of the building, up and down the stairs, carrying shopping bags, water bottles, and stuff to and from the truck. At some point, Matthew brought the purse back into the apartment and placed it with Stephanie's other tan bag in the bedroom closet for her when she returned. Like the pill bottle, Stephanie's phone, like her iPad, like her pink water bottle, he didn't throw the purse in the garbage, he didn't hide it, he didn't destroy it. There's no evidence Matthew wiped out his email accounts or his Skype accounts, and he didn't delete the memory from his dashboard camera. Again, it does not appear Matthew threw anything out despite his interactions with the police. During the search warrant a year later in September 2023, detectives located in a box that lists and designations of countries which wouldn't cooperate with extradition. But we have no idea when or why that list was made. It clearly was no secret that Matthew Pahl communicated very regularly with those two women in the Philippines, Miss Valente and Miss Desierto. We learned Stephanie communicated with both of them. Both Stephanie and Matthew were making plans to travel to the Philippines. Given the regular and open communication, this does not appear to have anything directly to do with the end of Stephanie's life. 7 months after he had been arrested, then released, we learned Matthew planned a trip to the Philippines in March of 2023. Despite his DNA being taken right before he left, thus knowing he was still a person of interest, Matthew Pahl returned to Waukesha as scheduled in June of 2023. The state has replied on the testimony of Deputy Willis of the Racine County Sheriff's Department. Deputy Willis is a handler for Raven, and they had gone through cadaver search training. We heard a lot about his Deputy Willis and Raven's training. Most of the training involved actual human remains. Deputy Willis testified the NNDDA is voluntary. It's a voluntary membership, and he pays an annual fee. No specific education is required, and he's not even required to take training notes.
This is the guy starting out saying a trial is like a cake. And then he forgot his metaphor. And then he started on the metaphor again today, and I don't think that he is ever going to land it. It's probably the worst defense team I've ever seen. No, because both of them got away with it.
He is tested or certified once a year or so, and was tested and certified by Ms. Corcoran, who is his regular trainer. Furthermore, we learned that Raven's, most of it Raven's real life, that most real life actual searches involve searches for entire human cadavers, and in one case, a tooth. If an area law enforcement agent needed a dog to search an area to see if there were human remains, I would be the first to tell them to call Deputy Willis and Raven. However, there's a very big difference between operational efficiency and forensic reliability for a criminal trial. We heard from several lab technicians and other experts. We heard about the importance of blind testing, even double-blind testing. From certain experts, we heard words like statistical confirmation and certainty. We also heard in one certification test for the NNDDA that Deputy Willis and Raven had an 80% for proficiency. And that was a test that included human remains. And that was acceptable for his certification under the NNDDA policies. Again, I'm not saying Raven isn't a valuable tool, but detection by Raven does not come close to the reliability and validity required under most all forensic standards. Let's talk about the search that occurred and the circumstances under which that search occurred on September 19th, 2022. We heard from Detective LaFleur. She was working in the ID Bureau and took initial custody of Mr. Pahl's Tacoma pickup truck. She directed the truck be placed in the pole barn for 2 days prior, and that was on September 17th. She said the pole barn or garage was pretty full. Though she was in charge of the inventory for that pole barn, she could not say where or what specific vehicles were in the garage on the date of the search. She was aware that there were at least 2 vehicles that were involved in fatal accidents. We learned there were many more, and she appeared to be unaware of those. We learned about the position of Mr. Pahl's truck during the search. It was parked alone at one end of the garage. Moreover, it was immediately at the starting point and thus the end point of the search. We also learned from Deputy Willis that human cadaver odor can transfer to containers and other items, even if they do not come in contact. So Mr. Pahl's truck spends 2 days in that pole barn, in the vicinity of numerous vehicles that had substantial, confirmed, dead human cadaver contact. At Deputy Willis's direction, Detective LaFleur even burped each door of Mr. Pahl's pickup truck, moving the air from within, but also around the pickup truck. She was not directed to burp any other vehicle, and even Deputy Willis stated this was a less than an ideal environment for a cadaver dog search. Then the search begins. Raven starts the search adjacent to Mr. Pahl's pickup truck with no change in behavior. We know Raven did not indicate on most of the vehicles that were actually involved in human fatality accidents, including numerous vehicles, motorcycles. And Raven did not even exhibit a change of behavior in most all cases, nor did she provide an alert. Then we learned that when Raven was nearly back to the starting point, done with the search area, she turned around. Then Deputy Willis started walking away. Raven looked up at him, then walked back to the rear of the pickup, and Raven sat down and appeared to provide a formal alert. The dog walked past the pickup truck, then changed her behavior when she was just about back to that service door. This test was certainly not double-blind. The detectives were all aware of the target. The test wasn't single-blind. Deputy Willis was advised of the target. Again, why is this important? It's important because of increased likelihood of human cueing, either intentionally or more likely unintentional. Cueing by Deputy Willis and cueing by the deputies present. We were also told by several experts and detectives that preservation during evidence or evidence gathering is critical. And it's critical for documentation. It's critical in criminal cases when there is a need for review, for critical analysis. Deputy Willis even takes photos for his training notes. On September 19th, Deputy Willis and certainly the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department had the capacity to record that canine search. Video would have been best, photo would have been good, even especially to have an inventory of that, a specific inventory and placement of cars in the garage. But we have neither. We have no way to review or evaluate what truly and accurately happened. Finally, we learn that the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department, or detectives, brought in the forensic experts from the Wisconsin State Crime Lab to process the truck. Not only was there no visible evidence of any relevant volatile human remains, they took countless swabs, including from the rear bed and bumper. The results showed signs that Matthew Pahl was in the front cab of the truck, and I think the bed of the truck, but all other tests were negative. Finally, we have the biggest areas of reasonable doubt. We still have those three questions that I asked at the beginning of this case. Question 1, how did Stephanie get from the cab of Matt's truck several hundred feet in broad daylight to the small wooded area where she was found? Keep in mind that in August and September of 2022, the area appeared to be quite active. It was not yet posted no trespassing. It was not overgrown like you saw. You saw the pictures. The body was along a path in a moderately sized clearing near a fire pit or a burn barrel, not far from numerous beer cans, even after workers posted those no trespassing signs.
If anyone feels the need to call him Wolf Daddy, Big Dog, I think they have bigger problems than watching this trial. They need something.
At least one person walked that trail through the woods. We saw that on the trail cam picture. Keep in mind, the area is bounded.
Hey, honey, it's Saturday night, and I was thinking that maybe I could entice you for a romantic movie and some wine. Then I could undress your nether regions and treat the tuna can like a rattle, maybe some cunnilingus, and only if you're up for it, maybe I could whip it out and we could treat it like we were in that drive-in theater when we were 18 years old. Does that sound interesting to you? Okay, next Saturday maybe.
By a heavily traveled frontage road
No,
and
it's
interstate,
horrible.
a very busy health center, a golf course, and homes. Question 2. If Matt carried Stephanie into that wooded area, when would he have done that? Keep in mind, Matt was
Dave, every woman does that. Luckily for them, 13 seconds isn't a long time to be bored.
still dealing with his broken foot. Keep in mind the distance from that parking lot to the woods, the traffic, the sightlines along the east side of Orthopedic Associates. Keep in mind that the government has hundreds of hours of camera footage and cell phone mapping, cameras that capture every single time Matthew leaves or enters that apartment building. That door 4 camera that captures every single time Matthew's truck leaves and enters the apartment. Those comings and goings correlate to cell phone mapping. Other than a few scheduled daytime appointments, there is no evidence that Matthew ever went back to the area of Orthopedic Associates. Think about this. If Matthew Pahl somehow killed Stephanie, why didn't he flee? He didn't flee after August 23rd, 2022. He kept his appointments at Orthopedic Associates. He kept his routine. He didn't flee after being arrested September 17th of 2022. He also could have stayed in the Philippines, but he returned as scheduled to Waukesha in June of 2023. Finally, we have question 3, and that is, what proof does the government have that Stephanie was actually killed by another person? Could it have been suicide? Could it have been a medical issue? Now, we had Deputy Schrader's outline that took a good part of 2 days. After scouring days, perhaps weeks, of surveillance footage,
He's been
thousands of
speaking for
emails,
20
hundreds
minutes.
of Skype messages, and other cell phone data, he provided his PowerPoint presentation. That PowerPoint
one, but I
presentation
can't get
not
it to
only
work
very
with the-
selectively picked which messages and data to show, he actually showed just select portions of many of those messages. Still, none of those 3 questions were answered. The government certainly wants Stephanie's death to be a homicide. They presented selective evidence to support their theory. However, there are countless theories, and those theories are not inconsistent with the testimony and the evidence.
Something
Again.
about ingredients.
Members of the government said Stephanie was murdered in the woods. Then maybe Stephanie was murdered in the pickup truck, then somehow dragged to the woods. Keep in mind, family members said Stephanie liked to go for walks outside, especially if she wanted to smoke. Maybe Stephanie walked into the woods to vape and something happened. Keep in mind, Stephanie accidentally urinated in Matthew's truck during an appointment 2 weeks earlier. And we know Stephanie did not use the restroom at Quick Trip. Maybe Stephanie walked into the woods to use the restroom and something happened. Maybe Stephanie accidentally overdosed on her prescribed medication. Stephanie's own mother, Georgianne Pavlons, testified Stephanie talked about suicide. We learned Stephanie recently overdosed on her prescription medication. We also heard Stephanie had visible cuts on her wrists. We have Stephanie's journals, and we have the note that was found in Matthew's truck. Perhaps it was an intentional overdose. While admittedly not likely, Stephanie could have used that scalpel, but there's not necessarily evidence of that. All I'm doing is trying to express the number of things that could have happened that aren't inconsistent with the evidence. We also know, finally, that officers found that empty container of Stephanie's seizure medication at the family home in Delafield. And we heard Dr. Rochelle talk about the correlation between stressors and epileptic seizures. Perhaps Stephanie had a seizure or another medical event. We have our Waukesha County medical examiner, Dr.
No, they have nothing. There's no cause of death. There's no nothing. All of it is circumstantial. He's an idiot who has her phone and her water bottle. That's it. And they had a really bad relationship. Both of them were drug addicts. But they don't have a manner of death. They don't have a cause of death. They have nothing. So all of it is pure speculation that within 16 minutes, he killed her and carried her into a wooded area and back on a broken foot at a busy orthopedic surgeon's office without anyone seeing them. And a cadaver dog reacted to something at his truck, but there was no evidence found anywhere on or in his truck that had any clue to her being unalived or anything in it. There's nothing other than very, very weak circumstantial evidence. But with this closing, I'll bet he'll be found guilty.
Shields' testimony. She examined the scene. She examined the clothing. She examined Stephanie. Excuse me. She examined the scene. She examined the clothing. She examined the body. After a year of investigating and testing, she provided her report. Though her initial impression was that Stephanie's life ended in those woods, she could not be certain where she died. She could not rule out strangulation or suffocation, though the hyoid bone was intact. She could not rule out stabbing or other sharp object injuries. She even said there were two small, or we even heard testimony that there were two small spots on Stephanie's shirt, which tested positive for human blood. But there was not evidence of substantial blood loss or marks on the clothing, the skin, or the bones. She could not rule out an overdose or a medical death. She could not even rule out a car accident, though that's doubtful. Dr. Shields' determined cause of death and manner of death was undetermined. This was affirmed by Dr. Truesdale, the state's death investigator, and this was affirmed by Dr. Hale. Again, there were thousands of emails and Skype messages, and the government picked some messages from 2021 and a few in early 2022 that demonstrate Matthew was unkind and at times downright mean towards Stephanie. This was especially true when he was discussing the misuse of her prescription medication. We also saw a few selections from Stephanie's journal, which were over a year prior to August of 2022. Matthew Pahl was private. Matthew Pahl was clearly paranoid. Matthew was at times less than kind, perhaps much less than kind, with women, in particular Stephanie Pavlans. But being a bad boyfriend does not make him a murderer. In summer of 2022, we don't have any of those type of entries. We don't have those journal entries. Stephanie was freely and willingly going back and forth between the Delafield house and Matthew's apartment. Keep this in mind. Georgianne Pavlans testified, and she stated that she was not worried about Stephanie's safety when she was with Matthew Pahl. All this testimony and all this evidence is your pantry full of ingredients. You have certain background facts, and those are like the items in the fridge. The government has tried their best to assemble the specific ingredients.
Dave, is this something you're taught in law school, to make stupid analogies?
They decided Matthew Pahl somehow killed Stephanie Pavlans. They have selected evidence to fit that theory. I sincerely hope that over the 7 days of testimony, you took good notes so that you're clearly aware of what was actually testified to. The state has baked what they want to be a chocolate cake. It doesn't look right and it doesn't taste right. You will have the right to review some of the evidence. If you want to see a video or picture or certain documents, you can ask. You can see the video of Matthew coming back to the Willow Park apartments after that appointment on August 23rd, 2022. No dirt, no sweat. He looks just like he does on any other day, and he acts just like he did on any other day. I do have a final note before I finish up.
Nope.
I assume at times during the trial and presentation of evidence, you observe Matthew Pahl talking to either Attorney Galaviz or I. I can tell you, he knows the evidence in this case probably better than me. I did not always like when he interrupted me, but he was passionate, and he pointed out when evidence was inconsistent with the evidence. Think about it.
Baker has written. Thank you. What have I written?
If a trial defendant just sat quietly, people may make other assumptions. Matthew is fighting for his freedom. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, You sit today in this case as 12 judges, 12 individuals who control the destiny of Matthew Pahl. You sit here today as the ultimate law enforcement officers. Please give this case your full attention, deliberation, and analysis. There is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Though there has been significant proof that Mr. Pahl is innocent,
Oh,
he
Baker's
doesn't have to
writing
prove
down this
that.
cake recipe.
He doesn't have to prove anything.
I think I have a better one.
However, given the evidence and testimony, the state certainly has not satisfied their burden of proof with respect to the crimes charged. I'm confident you will render verdicts that will be consistent with good common sense and logic and find Matthew Pahl not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you.
How can you make an interesting case this boring?
We can flip it back to the safe table, please.
And there's a history of domestic violence incidents between Mr. Pahl and Ms. Stephanie Pavlon.
Never reported.
And we know that largely from her journals, because Ms. Stephanie Pavlon kept those journals in 2020 and 2021. Unfortunately, we did not find a journal from 2022. So I don't know what was happening in Stephanie's life in 2022, but we do know that on July 6th of 2020, she writes, "I feel trapped." July 9th of 2020, "Sick of being called every name in the book, no purpose but to be abused. He's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde." On August 2nd of 2020, "I'm afraid of Matt, but have nowhere to go." September 2nd of 2020, "Scared to death of him, have no one." October 7th, 2020, she has a blown eardrum, a black eye, and you heard testimony that she went and saw an ENT.
In Michigan, in Wisconsin, it's the format of state defense state, because the state has the burden of proof. Other cases, they'll have the defense first and then the state. State has the burden of proof, so state will always get the last word. That's why she can now just spin a tale, because the defense hadn't anticipated she was going to talk about this, so they didn't really talk about the domestic violence. That's how it goes, sadly.
October 29th, "I'm going to end up 6 feet under." Those are just selections of different journal entries that Ms. Pavlon's made. We know that Mr. Pahl was abusive, controlling, and violent. And we know that Mrs. Pavlon said she knew this was an unhealthy relationship. She doesn't know these details. She doesn't know the 100% of what detectives testified we learned. She didn't see text messages. She didn't see Ms. Pavlon's journal entries. She had no idea the violence was this bad. But as we know in domestic violence cases, domestic violence goes unreported. Victims of domestic violence don't tell their closest friends and family. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. It's terrifying. The most dangerous time for a victim is when they decide that they're ready to leave. We know that there are significant size differences between Mr. Matthew Pahl and Ms. Stephanie Pavlon's. She's tiny, petite, incredibly skinny. Mr. Pahl works out.
But tell me how he killed her. I don't care how big, how small. Her being this emaciated, to me, suggests that she is very high into her drug use, and that makes a seizure more likely. But oh no, he beat her to death. Then prove it. Where are the injuries to his hands? Where are the scratch marks that everyone noticed on him? Where are the DNA on his shirt? Where is any evidence that he used his bigger frame to do anything to her? This is just pure bullshit. Men can always beat up women, and we always do it. You have no evidence of this. I hate when you just pull shit like this out of your ass.
He exercises regularly. He's healthy and fit and
He's
muscular.
a drug addict.
He's taller than her. He weighs more than her. Stephanie is Mr. Pahl's punching bag. Whenever he has a bad day, he makes sure she's going to have a bad day too. Because he's not going to suffer alone. He wants her to hurt worse than he hurts. She's at a size disadvantage. She's scared to death of him. She can't fight back. He's bigger than her. He's stronger than her. He always gets his way. We don't know what fights are happening closer to August of 2022. There's no text messages between them. Wonder why. Ms. Pavlans doesn't keep a journal. Probably because she's staying with Mr. Pahl. She's with him all the time since she's helping him with his foot injury. The defense made a really big deal about that date of August 8th when Ms. Pavlans came in with her pants wet. So let's talk about that day. We know that his truck returns at 2:34 p.m. Mr. Pahl walks in 4 minutes later at 2:38 p.m. Mr. Pahl exits and leaves the door ajar at 3 p.m. At 3:01 p.m., Ms. Pavlans walks in and her pants are wet. So for 30 minutes, Mr. Pahl had Ms. Pavlans sit in the car.
And again, no DV incidents in any of her journals for the last year. But that's because she was staying with him. That's why there was no one who saw anything. She went to work, by the way.
With her wet pants. He's humiliating her. He's embarrassing her. He's controlling her.
Yeah, she pissed her pants.
Then at 3:27, he has the gall to send her a text message that says, "Your piss stain," along with a picture of the seat. How condescending, how degrading. Her partner of 23 years.
She didn't.
So what can make
kill
someone
her.
lose their bladder? Dr. Hale told you, strangulation, suffocation, within a matter of seconds.
She also said seizures, medication. At this point, I hate when the state lies. You have the money, you have the power. Stop fucking lying all the time. Oh, so he choked her and that's why she pissed her pants. Did you notice when she walked up those stairs, she didn't look like she had been in a fight. She just walked up like every other day. She had seizures. Seizures can make you lose your bladder control.
When someone's being strangled, they can lose their bladder. So either that day at OAW, maybe even in the parking lot, they get into an argument. He's really pissed at her. He's upset. He wants to let her have it. He grabs her neck. He strangles her. She's terrified. Terrified. She begins to lose consciousness, and then she loses her bladder. See, strangulation's all about power. It's all about power and control. Mr. Pahl is showing Stephanie that he holds the power. He's in control, not her. She doesn't get to make decisions. He does. He holds her life in his hands. Then, in another act of power and control, he makes her sit in the car. After he's done this to her, after she loses her bladder, he changes his shirt. He takes his time getting back down there to let her in because she's stuck. She can't get into the apartment without him. She knows that. He knows that. He knows that she's at his beck and call. She is completely reliant on Mr. Pahl. Between August 19th and August 23rd, we know that Stephanie and Sherlyn had been communicating. We saw from those messages with Sherlyn that made Mr. Pahl really angry. So angry that he stops communicating with Sherlyn altogether. He stops communicating with her via Skype, says, "I'm not getting into texting battles with you," and he only communicates via email. Again, just a little glimpse of his power and control over the women in his life. He's worried that Stephanie's going to ruin everything for him. Because like I said before, these girls in the Philippines, they don't know his whole life. He's told them selective details. They certainly don't know that he's living with a woman in his apartment. Yeah, Stephanie knows about these women. That's an element of the control. Mr. Pahl is rubbing that in her face. He's allowed to talk to these women. She's not. He's allowed to have girlfriends. She's not allowed to talk to anyone.
She talks to his girlfriends.
This becomes a constant source of arguments, in addition to all the other little things that Mr. Pahl makes a big deal about. The other arguments that he starts, maybe about a missing pill or not having Ms. Pavlons do exactly what he wants when he wants. On August 23rd of 2022, Mr. Pahl and Ms. Pavlons leave the apartment. They go to Quick Trip. These arguments continue. It's just constant with Mr. Pahl. He's constantly badgering at her inner ear. He goes into his appointment, and while he's in there, Stephanie is just stewing. She's like, I am sick of this. I'm done. I'm done with the violence. I'm done with the abuse. I don't want this anymore. I'm done with the controlling, manipulative behavior. She's ready to make a big change in her life. She's ready. It's not suicide. She's ready to dump the man that has abused her verbally, emotionally, and physically. By the end of that hour appointment, she's made up her mind. She's done. She's walking away. She doesn't want to be with him anymore.
What?
So she writes that note that's found in the car. And ladies and gentlemen,
What?
this note, this isn't a suicide note. She says, I hate you. I hate being with you. All you care about is yourself. I'm not allowed to speak my mind around you, drive, spend money, or even feel good. Karma came back to you because your foot injury, not me. Go be with your virgin because I'm done, and keep the fucking money. That's not a suicide note. That's a breakup note. That's an I'm done with you, goodbye, get out of here, I never want to see you again. So she writes this note, she leaves it on the driver's seat, and she's running out of time. She's got to get out of there. His appointment's almost over. He's going to be done with his appointment. She has to find a way out. So she gets out of the car, and she starts to walk away. She's like, I gotta be away from him. She knows she can't go into OAW, wait for her mom. That will definitely end in disaster. He sees her there and she's not in the car. You can guarantee he's yanking her out of there, taking her back into the car. She can't wait for her mom. She can't walk away. She can't walk down Gulf Road. He'll definitely come after her. He'll find her. He'll make her life even more miserable. So what does she do? She can't just sit there any longer. So she decides to walk towards that wooded area. She's probably thinking, hey, maybe I can go into the woods for some cover. Maybe I can walk over to a subdivision, call my mom. Maybe I can get to the golf course, call my mom. I just got to get out of sight. He can't see me leaving. But Mr. Pahl comes out of the appointment. She's run out of time. He sees her. He sees that she's not in the truck. He sees the note. Doesn't take very long to read this note. He reads it, and oh boy, he's mad.
You're just making a story.
He's furious.
Come on now. At least object to this. All of this is fucking speculation. There's no evidence of any of this happening. None whatsoever. Again, you're claiming he strangled her in a busy parking lot in front of a busy road and then dragged her into a wooded area. Are you abso-effing-lutely...
He gets in his truck. He drives.
I just hope someone in the jury has watched the same trial we had, because none of this is in any way possible if you think about it.
He sees Stephanie. He drives up to that little curve in the driveway. He sees her walking towards that wooded area, and he goes after her. He gets out of the truck.
What? What? On his broken foot, he goes after her and kills her. Why didn't she run away? She wanted to get away. He couldn't see her. He has a broken foot and she can run. This is getting dumber and dumber.
He comes after her. He grabs her by the back of the shirt. That shirt's too big. He's pulling the shirt up at her neck. And there's a struggle just
You have
outside
no
the area of
evidence
the
of
woods.
this. No evidence.
Maybe Miss Pavlons is vaping.
Maybe,
During that struggle, she drops her
she's
vape.
carrying 2 firearms and shooting like
Mr.
Yosemite
Pahl
Sam.
continues to grab at her shirt. He's not letting her go. And then what happens? Mr. Pahl grabs her purse. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the murder weapon.
What?
Wraps this around her neck.
What the? What? The purse is the murder weapon. This is ridiculous. No evidence at any point. You haven't even talked about this purse being examined for DNA or anything. Now it's the murder weapon. How are you allowed to do this? How are you? Because the defense cannot go up there and say what this person said was absolutely bullshit. She has zero evidence of the statement she just made. This is the murder weapon. Normally, the thyroid, hyoid, whatever bone in the neck would be broken, especially if you're strangling with that. Well, it wasn't in this case. Well, in a very few cases, it doesn't do it. This is insane. There's no evidence in any way that you have presented that points to the theory you just gave. If this is justice, count me out. Out of the kingdom, out of Africa.
He strangles her for just a minute or two. That's all it takes. She goes unconscious.
Did she piss her pants this time? Because remember, it only takes seconds to piss your pants. Was there piss on her pants this time?
And she's dead. He uses the strap of her own purse to kill her.
You don't kill anyone in a few. It takes a long time
Mr.
to
Pahl,
strangle
he
someone.
couldn't let Miss Pavlons have the control. He couldn't
Oh
let
my
her walk
fucking God.
away. He couldn't
I have
let
to stand
her
up and
leave
walk around.
him. He's the man. She does what he wants, not the other way around. He couldn't let her walk away. Only he gets to decide when this relationship is done. And in the ultimate act of control, he takes her life from her. He drags her body just inside the wooded area. The purse strap has caused a ligature mark, a little bit of an abrasion, a scrape to her neck, a laceration. That's consistent with the evidence, that there's some blood on the neck of her shirt, that there's a lot of insect activity at her neck, down to her collarbone, all the way to the top of her head. It's also consistent with the evidence. Look at the way her body is positioned. Look at the way her arm is stuck in her shirt. As he's grabbing her by the shirt, she's struggling. She's trying to get away. Her arms are up by her ears. She's trying to get her arm out of her shirt. She's fighting for her life. And Mr. Pahl takes her life from her. He doesn't know how quickly her body's going to be found. He notices that there's an injury. He panics. He drops the scalpel right outside the woods, right where that struggle started, thinking, oh, maybe I can say this was a suicide. He leaves Stephanie to decompose and be eaten by insects, effectively hiding any evidence that we have, effectively making it very difficult for the medical examiner to provide a cause of death here. His actions and his actions alone are the reason that there's no DNA, no evidence of injury, and that's because of her advanced stage of decomposition. So what does he do next? He grabs the purse, he grabs the water bottle, he goes right to his truck, opens the bed of his truck, puts the purse and the water bottle in the bed of his truck, drives off, goes home, See, he didn't realize that by just being next to Stephanie at the time that she's deceased, and by using her purse, there could be a little bit of tissue left on the strap of the purse. That tissue decomposes. That tissue causes that odor that Canine Raven is trained to hit on. He returns to the apartment with her phone. He goes inside and he brings his water bottle in. The purse remains in the vehicle. From 10:33 to 10:53 a.m., that's plenty of time for Mr. Pahl to have killed Stephanie Pavlons. It takes just a minute or two to kill someone by strangulation. Not very long. Not very long at all. It's plenty of time to kill her, and when he gets back to the apartment, he goes about his life as if nothing has ever happened. When he comes inside the first time, he just brings in the water bottle, and he thinks, oh, I don't need to conceal this. I know I've carried this before. But he knows if he carries that purse in, that's going to look suspicious. So an hour and a half later, he comes back down. He brings the purse inside at 12:29. That purse has been inside his car since 10:53. Enough time for that odor of a decomposing human remains to be just at the tailgate, just at the bed of the truck, right where Raven hits. He puts the purse in a Walmart bag to try and conceal the purse, so we can't say that that's what comes into the apartment. But he doesn't do a good enough job, because we catch that. Detective Seitz, right away when he reviews the video, catches that. When he brings the purse in, he cleans it off, he puts it on a shelf, and then has this theory. Oh, I'm just going to say she walked off. I brought it back inside with me. I didn't know if she was going to come back. The evidence suggests otherwise. Over the next days and weeks, he uses Stephanie's phone. He searches her name because he's trying to cover his tracks. He's trying to figure out what law enforcement knows. Mr. Wolf said, well, she wasn't answering her messages. Yeah, she wasn't answering her messages because he had her phone. He knew that. She's very private because Mr. Pahl has isolated her. He brings in the purse on August 23rd. The defense doesn't dispute that he brings in the purse. That's exactly what happened. The defense said in their closing that they had 3 questions. How did she get from the cab of his truck to the wooded area? That, what I just told you, that explains it all.
Yeah, but you had no
He didn't
evidence
carry
of
her.
it.
He had to drag her a short distance. He was certainly capable of doing that. His foot injury did not stop him from getting rid of the one person that had the ability to ruin everything for him.
He could just
Because if
kick her out of
Stephanie
his life.
left and she got a hold of Sherlyn, she could unravel his whole fantasy life. He couldn't let her go.
There's no evidence that she tried to do that. This is so absolutely retarded. Sorry, but it is retarded.
He couldn't let her ruin everything. He uses our Facebook account.
Yes.
He wants to be ready when the police come. He was ready with a story. He just wasn't as smart as the police. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is absolutely circumstantial, but it's overwhelming. The only reasonable explanation supported by all of the evidence is that Mr. Pahl was a violent and abusive partner. He kills Mrs. Pavlons because she was trying to leave him, something he certainly couldn't let happen. Everything that happens after 10:54 on August 23rd of 2022 demonstrates that this wasn't a suicide, this wasn't a seizure, this wasn't an accidental overdose, an intentional overdose. No, ladies and gentlemen, this was first-degree intentional homicide. Mr. Pahl caused the death of Miss Pavlons, and he concealed her body. I ask that you find the defendant guilty of both counts.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you are to decide this case fairly and impartially, without fear or favor and without passion or prejudice. You are to decide only whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty of the offenses charged. Any consequences of your verdict are matters for the court alone to decide and must not affect your deliberations. The following 4 forms of verdict will be submitted to you concerning the charges against the defendant Matthew E. Pahl. As to count 1 reading, we the jury find the defendant Matthew E. Pahl guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. Another reading, we the jury find the defendant Matthew E. Pahl not guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. As to count 2, another reading, we the jury find the defendant Matthew E. Pahl guilty of hiding a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information. Another reading, we the jury find the defendant Matthew E. Pahl not guilty of hiding a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information. It is for you to determine whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty of each of the offenses charged. You must make a finding as to each count of the information. Each count charges a separate crime, and you must consider each one separately. Your verdict for the crime charged in one count must not affect your verdict on any other count. This is a criminal, not a civil case. Therefore, before the jury may return a verdict which may be legally received, the verdict must be reached unanimously. In a criminal case, all 12 jurors must agree in order to arrive at a verdict. When you retire to the jury room, select one of your members to preside over your deliberations. The presiding juror's vote is entitled to no greater weight than the vote of any other juror. If you need to communicate with the court while you're deliberating, send a note through the bailiff signed by the presiding juror. To have a complete record of the trial, it is important that you communicate with the court only by written note. If you have questions, the court will talk with the attorneys before answering, so it may take some time. You should continue your deliberations while you're waiting for the answer. The court will answer any questions in writing or orally here in open court. When you've agreed upon your verdict, have it signed and dated by the person you've selected to preside. After you reach a verdict, the presiding juror will notify the bailiff that a verdict has been reached. Everyone will return to the courtroom. The verdict will be read into the record in open court, and the court may ask each of you if you agree with the verdict. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we are going to swear in our bailiff, and then after that, I'll advise you of the 2 alternate jurors who will be excused, and I'll ask you to follow Mike's directions. Alternate, even though you are alternates, please don't discuss with anyone. We'll tell you that if you're welcome to stay, whoever you are, to wait to see if there's a verdict, or you can let the bailiff know and we'll either call you or and let you know the results, or you can be here by phone when the verdict comes back. So if you could swear in the bailiff, please.
Do you swear that you will keep the jurors sworn on this trial in a quiet and convenient place? You will suffer no communication with them except upon order of the court. That you will not report to any person the state or result of their deliberation until they have agreed upon a verdict, return to the court, and report it. So help you God.
I do. All right, sir, here's the jury instructions and the verdict forms. And alternates are, I'm going to ask when I read your name to raise your hand. Diane Badalski and Steve Hayes. All right, folks, again, thank you so much. I know this is a disconcerting moment when you're all of a sudden separated from everyone you spent a number of days with. I assure you we thank you and respect the time you've spent. It's not wasted because it's important to have the alternates, and I appreciate that. Anything from the state before I release the jurors?
No, Judge.
Anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, very good. You can go with Mike and follow his directions, please.
It's an open courtroom, so we are allowed to hear the names of the juror. Normally, we just don't do it online. Because it's an open courtroom, we could have been in the courtroom. Yes, it's an open courtroom.
Have a seat, everybody.
It's not a secret.
Anything before we stand down for the state?
No, Judge.
Anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Then, folks, please stay in the vicinity. This has been a long trial, and I expect there may very well be some questions from the jurors, at least about what evidence they may see. So please remain in the area and report to our clerk with your cell phone numbers, okay? All right, let's stand down. Thank you.
And I can disclose that on Law and Crime, it's an automatic guilty. They will be back in 30 minutes because it's such a clear case. The evidence is really, really, really good. the text message, no, her journal entries is the one that does it because, hey, they're only a year before, but that clearly shows that he killed her. Who could not see that? When he punched her around a year before, he must have killed her. This is a travesty. This isn't how justice is supposed to be. Is there a potential that he could have killed her? Absolutely, yes. Have they proven it beyond a reasonable doubt? In my eyes, no. What this lady just stood up and did was lie about every single fact that she claimed she had. And without ever mentioning the bag being the murder weapon, doing closing arguments because, hey, it's not evidence. Come on now. It's just her summation of the evidence. She just made it the murder weapon because when it's closing arguments, you don't have to have any proof of it. Come on now. It's not evidence. This lady is an absolute disgrace. This case has been an absolute disgrace. This public defender's team is an absolute disgrace. This guy is, in my opinion, going to be found guilty, will spend the rest of his life in prison based on lies, based on a cadaver dog that turned around in a garage where there were more cars that had some sense that it reacted to. Why were they not the murder weapons? Why is this the big red flag in this case? There's no evidence that he killed her in any way that she claimed. None whatsoever. Remember, to begin with, he killed her in the car. Now he killed her in the wooded area. A man on a broken foot. He could walk, yes, but he couldn't run. She's a woman. She can see the car coming, thinking, oh my God, he can't get a hold of me. I've shown you the overhead picture on Google Map. There is people living right ahead of her. Why doesn't she run? If she wanted to get out of here, why did she not do anything to try and get away from there? In the 50 minutes he was in there getting his treatment, she was waiting around, sitting for 50 minutes thinking, am I going to leave him? Should I pay? I don't, let me find this notepad and write a note and just leave it in the car. And, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to leave. No, I'm going to stay here. Oh, the 50 minutes is up. Now I'm going to get out of the truck and I'm starting to walk away. I finally got up the courage, even though I wanted to leave him to destroy this magical life he wanted in the Philippines, that he could just have taken with her out of the picture. He could just have told these Filipino ladies, hey, she's kind of a crazy bitch and she's jealous. And the story wouldn't have changed. These Filipino ladies didn't care about any of that. But no, she could ruin his dream scenario. Why? How? There's no indication that she was in contact with them, telling them stay away from him. None whatsoever. There's no indication she was talking about, hey, you're not going to your skanks in the Philippines. None whatsoever. This lady that he's been in a 23-year relationship with, that both sides, even the mother said it was an on-again, off-again relationship. It wasn't a relationship for 23 years. There's no evidence to back up anything she said, and he will, in my opinion, be found guilty. Yeah, that it all of a sudden was the murder weapon. Yeah, it's I think his searches and his cell phone use after a disappearance is what has me wondering why he did that. Yes, I would wonder why the hell, especially if you did it. Yeah, that's well, those numbers doesn't add up. That's 105%. But if he's trying to conceal this crime and he has strangled her and hit her in the wood, and nothing's happened. Why does he call anyone on her phone? That's kind of dumb, but there's just no evidence that he killed her. No, in any way. They know it's normally needed to have a body motive and murder weapon to convict, so they made up that story for closing to try and force it into the heads of the jurors. Yeah. They tried with the, hey, I watched a movie that they rented once, and that was the one that proved it. I had a dog that did something. Now, actually, he drove after her, hunted her down with the car, ran after her on his broken foot, dragged her shirt up, and then strangled her with her purse. Right? Isn't that? There's no drag marks. There's nothing that indicates anything of this. There's no broken thyroid bone. There's no hyroid. I can't remember what it's called. There's no indication of any of it. But you better believe this is what happened. Drug buddies and codependent for over 20 years. Yeah, both of them were really bad to each other. I don't think there's no doubt he was an asshole. No doubt in my mind he was a massive asshole. But there's just no evidence that he killed her. Yeah, and that's you can't do anything. The judge can't stop it, but I just find it so unfairly. The hyroid bone. Thank you. Exactly. They and they're allowed to do it. It's insane. It's insane. If he did it, he should have left person phone with the body. Easier to say she was gone and he came back from an appointment. Yeah. Say, well, I don't know. I thought she had gone home, because she did that sometimes. And then all of a sudden, she shows up dead in the wood with her phone and her purse. Would be way easier. I would have been more suspicious if he had used her credit card. Her credit card was in his wallet, I believe. They claimed in opening, but I don't think they ever proved it. But if he had used her credit card, I would probably think more of, okay, that's a bit sus. Why didn't Raven sniff the purse? Smell would have transferred to the letter. Didn't Raven sniff the apartment? Yes, but I think the purse had already been removed at that point. Yeah. It's not. The defense was the worst part, really. At least the prosecution pulled out all the stops, even though it's all made up. Imagine having a decent lawyer on the defense. I think they could have potentially even had it kicked out. But you had this guy who he could barely stammer through a sentence, and the other guy who was talking about how to make a cake. Are you effing kidding me? This is just stupid. It just annoys me that this is the justice. I get so disheartened when we watch cases like this, because I work for the justice system in the way that I am elected for a 4-year period to be a layman. And I believe in what I do. I believe I have a really important job in the justice system to be that Jiminy Cricket who says, is this a good idea? And yes, we will get a lot of cases that's just open and shut. Oh, there's a video of you punching someone in the face. Yeah, you're probably guilty. But you also have those cases where you're sitting there and say, did they even prove that? And it can be people who has a criminal record longer than a CVS receipt. But you have to look at every single charge one at a time. They have to prove everything. I think the last time I was in court, we had 16 different charges. He pled guilty to 13 of them. The last 3 he didn't plead guilty to. And it wasn't because it was going to change a whole lot of what he was going to get sentenced with in the end. But we found him not guilty in all 3 of those because we just didn't believe that they proved it. And just because he was a career criminal who was an idiot, they didn't prove he did it. And his explanation, it could potentially, could be true. So we found him not guilty in those 3 charges. The rest he pled guilty to, yeah, sure. You're going to get a lot of fine and you're going to go to prison for some time. But I believe my role is to be the voice of reason and be the judge of the evidence put into the case. And I've told you a lot of times when we get these charging documents, we'll have, this is what we claim happened in charge 1. And I will make notes if someone is accused of threats. They have to, when they're witnessing, they have to say, well, he did say he was going to stabulate my kid. Okay. If they say, well, he did say something threatening, but I'm not sure, he was just loud. No. He has to say something that can make you fearful, or a normal person be fearful. You can't just say, well, he was yelling. You have to prove what you put in the charges against someone in the Danish system. And we'll go through it meticulously when we get back there and say, did they prove charge 1? No. Did they prove charge 2? Yes. Did they prove charge 3? Yes, he pled guilty to that one. And we go through every single one. And I believe it's so important that we do that. We don't have openings and closings like you have. We don't have fairy tale hour like you just saw. And this is why I hate opening and closing. I know a lot of people who are American thinks that this is a necessity, but it shouldn't be. You either prove your case or you don't charge people. If you need to spend 30 minutes lying about every piece of evidence in a case, the case should be automatically dismissed. The judge should just stand up and say, could the jury please leave the room? None of this that you just said have been proven. This case is dismissed with prejudice, and I'll see you in a bar hearing Monday. Adios. What they just did should take their bar license away. No, because it's not evidence. They lied to the jury. And they're allowed to do it following the rules. But you should be enraged that this is allowed. You should be enraged. Well, I don't have any good mods. Brandon is sadly hospitalized, I think. So I'm not sure that I have any good mods here today. My mods doesn't watch my show. Come on now. It's all about the story here. Yeah, and it shouldn't be. It should be all about justice. For what you can prove. Well, I have no problem that I don't like when people come in and try and advertise for their own channel, but Cyberchick, who has graciously reached out to me today and asked if I might be able to listen to something about the Twin Flame, and I am finishing the poll right now. 83% of you want to hear more about it, so we have to figure out a day where we can make that happen. I know she has a small, I won't say new channel because it's a little bit older, but she's started streaming. And why shouldn't I help smaller channels? When I was a little channel, people helped me out. Without Dave inviting me on when I had 45 subscribers, I wouldn't have 20,000 subscribers today. I am in the belief that it's okay to mention other people on other people's channel, as long as you don't go in and say, hey, why don't you come over to True Crime Penguin instead of watching with this asshole? I might get a little about that. But I think everyone should help each other as much as possible. Does it mean I love every YouTube creator who covers true crime? Absolutely not. But I won't tell you who I do like and who I don't like, because I'm not here to divide you. You have who you like, and hopefully I'm one of them. And even though I might not like other people you like, why should I tell you they are bad people? Because you like them. That's the thing. Sadly, we have seen a lot of division for the last month, where people will try and give you the purity test and say, you must believe like I do. I don't think that. I don't think it's conducive to anything that you claim everyone must have the same opinion. But sadly, a lot of people are very protective of their channels, and that's fine. I just don't think that it's a good thing to do. Where I know on Lawn and Crim and stuff like that, they don't like if you go in and say, hey, come watch it with me. And I would never do that. I would never, ever go to Aiden's channel and say, do you know I'm streaming in 30 minutes? Because it's not for me to advertise on someone else's channel. That's why I also, please don't advertise too much in the Discord. I think it's kind of a slap in the face of the creator. But you're allowed to go in and say, hey, yeah, I heard that over on Baker. A lot of people come and say, did you see Melanie Little was covering the Goody case yesterday? I didn't do it, so why should I be mad about it? That's just the thing. I watched your division stream doing jury instructions, another great shot by Baker. Yeah, I wish people could see when I am doing live streams and doing videos, because people keep saying, oh, I missed your live. No, it's a video. Penguins are evil and going to take over the world in the next ice age. Big Dog knows it. That's why I hate True Crime Penguin. With my luck, there is a channel out there called True Crime Penguin. Is it okay for me to ask where Valhalla's been? Absolutely. Valhalla was on the show on Saturday, where we were raising money for Carmen. Valhalla and I was on Friday Night Live, Friday with the expert, and Valhalla was streaming his Lego stream with Dave on Saturday night with Nick Starrow and Jessica, the alternate. I can't remember her first name. The alternate, great channel out of Great Britain. So Valhalla has been around. He's just not doing a lot of work on his own channel. Maybe he is busy making the farm ready for the winter. Hey, you can always harass Zach. Her channel is brand new. She's really old. No, her channel is from 2016, and she's not that old. Zach, stop harassing people. I'm gonna tell Sue that you said that thing about her kissing cousins, and then she's gonna hate you from now on. The way the chat came together for a cause was righteous to see. It was absolutely wonderful, and we can't thank you enough that you are such amazing people, not only to keep Carmen safe, but also to give AJ some peace of mind. Now she knows that Carmen will be able to buy not only the equipment she needs, but the equipment she wants. And according to her, I directed you all over to AJ's channel yesterday. I don't know how many of you saw it, but she is pretty sure now that she is getting the good stuff. And lucky for her, Valhalla went in and actually read what was in the package she was looking at, because that didn't have the protection plate that she needed. I thought it said that you had opened it in 2016. I don't know. Carmen is adorable. Yeah, and she's really sweet. and she reached out to me on, I think, like Tuesday or Wednesday, and said, "Hey, buddy, can you potentially help me out? Because I'm going back to work for the sheriff's office and we're not getting the equipment." And she told me the story about the time she was stabulated 27 times, or how many it was, and sent me the pictures. And I thought, damn, girl. And I did a little bit of a fundraiser for one stream, and I think we raised like $400 or something. And then I reached out to her and said, "Hey, I think people need to see you, need to hear you, and that'll move some things, because she is an amazing person." She will actually be running AJ's channel tonight, I believe. But when you see her and when you hear her, you know she's going to use that money well. There's a lot of grifting going on the YouTubes. There's a lot of people who will raise funds for some kind of disaster, and they'll promise you that it'll go to this and that, and you'll never see receipts. She has sent me receipts for everything. And she said, "Should we do an unboxing video when it comes in? And when everything has been processed, I'm going to send you receipts." Said, I don't need it. I trust you. As a Danish person, if I give you my yes once, I'll trust you forever until you shit on me, and then I will never talk to you again. I trust her 100% that she is using the money for what she's saying. And if there's $10 in surplus, hopefully she'll give her wife a snow cone or something. There is a true crime. Whoops. Oh, there is no. Lucky me, because I just made it up to have someone to talk about it. Well, Sue is an amazing person, and I really like her. He made her honest instead of modest. I was talking a lot to her, and she was like, "No, but I don't need, it's fine. I can get by, and you already raised so much." And I said, "No, let's try and do it so you can get what you need." And she thought she needed like $1,000, but that was just a basic nothing. So I'm glad that we all came together and raised enough money that she could get the protection, because she's facing people like this guy in her job. She's facing people who are absolutely blown out of their mind because of drugs or maybe mental illnesses. And I'm glad that I could help. No, but in Denmark, if we let you in, we trust you 100% until you prove that you cannot be trusted, and then we will hate you the rest of our lives. This has to be one of the nicest chats. Thank you, everyone. Well, Zach and Sue is still around, so it's not the best way you can find the chat in, because those two, I'm just saying. But Brandon is at the hospital, so it's not as bad as it could be. We haven't had any Urban Dictionary today. And if anyone wants to go and check out Cyber Chick from Boston, this is her link. The area around Waukesha is very rural and filled with summer lake homes. It's a huge vacation area. I can't remember there are too many defense attorneys unless they come from Milwaukee. I think there's a lot of trials going on over there, so I don't know. But we see a lot of trials from there. Oh, you're gonna get really angry, Slidey. Valhalla did wonders for her. I love that he was like, "Yeah, I know you need more to be safe." Yeah, because he knows the gear. We don't buy our own stuff. I don't have that stuff. Back when I was in the military, we were given a Kevlar vest, and then we were given a Kevlar plate to cover our internal organs. That's what we were given. That's all we had. It couldn't hold. Well, the plate could hold up in a knife fight. The rest of it would be cut right open. So I have no idea what the good stuff is. Valhalla knows because he has been deployed with the U.S. Army. No, sorry, Navy. He's a Navy guy, so he knows what the gear is, what's the security level on the different stuff. So it's really good, and I think he has this disarming way of talking to people because you can see she has that false modesty, as we call it in Denmark, where it's kind of like, well, it would never happen to Sue, but if someone offered Sue the last piece of cake and she said, no, 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 I don't want any more, even though she really liked it, that's the false honesty thing. Sue would take that cake and she will then send you to the baker and get another cake because she wants more cake. But he had a way to kind of just break that shell and say, hey, come on, girl. Let's be honest. Let's be true about this. Thank you, Malin. Did you decide what case we're doing next? Yes, the preacher man who apparently was banging his one from his flock, who then turned into a self-help guru or something. I'm going to check the audio to see if it's okay if the audio is shit. We don't want to sit through that, but I think we're going to do that. No, he was Navy. You stop. It's a stolen valor. He was Navy, and he doesn't want to be truthful about it, but he was Navy. You were sub 2. How many subs are we up to now? Bum, 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 bum. She has 277 subscribers right now. And we are 127 here. Even if you went over there before, I bet you we could get that to 300. Can we get 23 people to go over and give her a sub just to help her out for being so nice and reaching out to me? It could be fun. Just help someone out. We have nothing else to do. We're just sitting here doing nothing. So maybe go over and give Cyberchick a little 282. 18 more. Then we can get to 300. On Tuesdays, we do glutes because if you want to have a rootin' tootin' booty for a Florida floozy, you better be effing swole. I did do glutes today on a Tuesday, and I didn't go heavy because it's been a long time, so I've had some back and knee problems. But I did get to 660, I think it is, 660 leg press today, pounds leg press. I did get to 220 in calf raises. That was a pretty low one. I did hit 140 kilos. That's like what, 150 kilos. That's 330 pounds in leg extensions. Then we did the good girl, bad girl thing with the 220. So daddy's old legs got work today. What channel am I promoting? I am promoting Cyber Chicken Boston because she reached out to me today and asked if I might be interested in learning about the Twin Flames case. Twin Flames is a Smex cult kind of thing where a family members of her have been in it. And she reached out and asked if it potentially could be something that my audience wanted to know something about. And my audience said 82% says, yes, 10 more. Come on, 10 more. We can find 10 more to go over and give her a like or a subscribe just to see what it is. I hope it's okay. Well, fair use.
And it turned my entire world upside down.
We all understand this feeling of loneliness. We don't know where we belong and we don't know how to rectify that.
I met someone, the one, my twin flame.
Twin flame.
Twin flame.
Twin flame. I was looking up twin flames, and Jeff and Shelia came right up.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Shelia.
And we are authors of the book Twin Flames, Finding Your Ultimate.
Not to be judged. This is a really. I hate these formats. Never trust a man with this weak of a chin.
Lover. And it turned my entire.
That's Brianna. That's my niece Jess. That's me. One of the things that made me sad, actually. I was looking for pictures of Brianna, and I only saw pictures from 7 years before. Like, I don't have a ton. When I scroll through my camera, I have so many pictures of all my nieces and my nephews and my family at cookouts, parties, and there's like this huge gap from the time that Brianna left us for the cult. And then that's Brianna. That's my niece Jess.
So we are going to four more. Then we are at 300. Then we have helped another one out today. She reached out to me earlier today and asked if I potentially wanted to learn more about this, because was it 2 months ago the compound they had got raided, and she has a family member who used to be a member of this Twin Flames cult. It's some kind of find your soulmate thing, and because not just because I'm a misogynist, but because I am a misogynist, most of people who are searching, going into things like this, will be ladies who are, because men, if you are above a 3, you're not nagging, we'll probably be fine with it. We don't need to find a soulmate. We just need to find someone who we don't want to throw out after the 13 seconds of heaven. But they had a problem. They ran into 80% of their members were women. So all of a sudden they tried to force people to be in homosexual relationships. And it's a whole wild thing. And I think it could be very interesting to learn more about it. I have been contacted before about if I want to cover stuff about religion. Normally I don't want to do that. But this is more of a thing. Thank you so much. We got to 302 subscribers now. Thank you so much, everyone, for giving her a chance. Go watch one of her videos, and then we are gonna find a day where we can try and talk about what the experience was about. They told them they were men trapped in a woman's body. Sadly, these cult things are very good manipulators, and they will make you believe whatever they say. I'm sorry that your family member was in it, and gladly they are out of it. There is a Prime documentary you can go watch. I forgot the name. Sorry, you sent it to me earlier, and I will go and see if it is in. I have it here. I wrote it down. Desperately Seeking Soulmates is the name of the documentary. You can find it on Prime. It's an older thing that it has been around in the media before, but apparently they got raided a couple of months ago. So it might pop up again. There might be some lawsuits coming out of it. Well, there will be a cult that will try and give you the thing that you need. They are. It's kind of like my favorite town bicycle, Lindsay Gattani. They will mirror exactly what you want to make you jump into the cult. Yeah, the No Smacks cult. And bringing these two down, I think you mean. The next digital Jonestown. I think my son may be into something odd in Mississippi. He hasn't spoken to family in 2 years. Yeah, hopefully it's just a small cult, not some kind of drug problem or something. We are on verdict watch. We had the most annoying, well, not annoying, the most rage-inducing closing arguments from the state where they straight up lied. All of a sudden, he strangled her with her purse string. Never ever mentioned it before, did it on redirect or reclose. Absolutely infuriating. Jennifer Caffey Daffy could learn a thing or two from Cyberchick Boston. Jennifer Caffey Daffy could learn something from everyone she meets in her life, from the local barista to the homeless person who has been sleeping under a bush for the last 10 years. That lady isn't going anywhere fast. Well, the problem is they will mindfuck you that you think, okay, apparently that's how it is. I was in a cold Boston Church of Christ. We would have service on Sunday in the Canton High School auditorium. Did you have to get drunk like everyone else in Canton? What did I miss? Oh, so. Well, knock on wood, hopefully it's just a phase. I had a cousin of mine who I saw her the last time in 2000 and Christmas 2000. Yeah, Christmas 99 was the last time I saw her, and then she just fell off the radar. She's always been a little bit in and out of our family because some family problems and stuff like that. But that's the last time I saw her until, well, I wasn't at that one. It wasn't, I think the next time I saw her was probably 2015. Because she just fell off the map, and then my mother and father went to my dad's brother's funeral, and she was there, and they started talking again, and she's always kind of had my mom as a surrogate mom, and now she became more involved with the family again, and that was kind of weird having her back in our family, but it was also nice. And now with my kids and everything, she has kids the same age as them, so that's wonderful. Yeah, Jonestown, or it was Jonestown, right? That was horrible. But the same with the one with the Nike ones. We had to watch it when I had psychology. No, that was when we had religion, where we had to learn about cult behavior and stuff like that. We did the, what's it called, that weird cult where they stand out and yell at the soldiers and stuff like that. Those 5 people, and we had to look into different cults. We have a cult in Denmark as well that was very, very strange. Not doing a lot of, but there was just a lot of weirdness going on around that as well. Recently, I learned Dunkin' Donuts originated in Massachusetts in the Canton area. Maybe that's why my good friend Twisted Tragedies drinks so much of their coffee. Well, if it's just because they are in a political party, we don't care about it. Grew up in a cult, now I don't trust anything. Yeah. My cousin was in Miss as well. Turns out it was the boyfriend isolating her, DV and mind control. Again, I think that's a lot of people. We saw it in that case with the Yankee Candle. That boyfriend who really wanted to have that harem, I don't know how you say it in English, I think it's harem, with all the chicks that he could bang, and he could run their life, and they could go and do everything for him. They will get attracted to that lifestyle because, hey, I can finally get what I can't get in real life. I can get women who just do my bidding. None of that nagging, because nagging you need two. I don't know what she does. I don't care. Well, enjoy a quick hike. Yeah, I remember we talked about that in school as well. Yeah, I wish we were, because now it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Now it's 4 o'clock. I wish we would know kind of what's happening. We don't know. We never know. We have been on verdict watch for about 50 minutes now. I don't know if they'll be returning. We don't know if they're going late or anything, but it's at 11 o'clock here, so I kind of wish they would come back with something. I have to get up tomorrow. I grew up in a cult too. One thing was no vaccinations. One girl brought German measles to summer camp in Minnesota, and the entire camp was quarantined there for 4 extra weeks with no activities. Oh, that's hard. I was a part of the Sunshine Carpet Cleaners. I don't know what that is. Well, it's because you live on the West Coast. That's why it's that early where you are. But in the real world, it's 11 o'clock at night. And that's a little... as I started saying this morning, I need to get in a better schedule because we have been running these central time trials. So they have been ending between 11 and 12, and I don't get to sleep till 1, 2 o'clock. And yeah, my day is just ruined. Harem. I just watched the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where they an alternative ending to the Manson trial. I never really looked into it. When I had psychology, we had to look into the one who killed small animals and drove around in a Volkswagen Beetle. I'm not good with serial unalivers, because we had to write a project in psychology that you have to make one big presentation, and everyone jumped on that one, and I hate that one. So I can't even remember, what did I write about? I think I wrote about child evolution theory in the first 6 months. Ted Bundy, yes, Ted Bundy. The movie had just come out, and then we had the weirdest teachers. He was really stupid. 11 a.m. in Brisbane. Well, now I'm finally able to stream for my Aussie audience. No, I believe that he did that when his mom got with the first, with his stepdad, and then I think when that was, no, this was when he lived with his granddad, he thought was his dad, I think. And then he moved with his stepdad, and then that's when he claimed he got his corn addiction. Yeah, and then he got a corn addiction. That's why he had to unalive all these ladies. It's not because you are an only child you get children. I have explained it a lot of times. You have a flower and you have a bee, and the bee is flying around. The flower is looking all smiley and nice over here in the sun, and the bee then goes over and pollinates the flower. That's why you have children. No, some will. Some will. I actually think that a lot of these people haven't they proven that it's in the early teen years, most of them will start developing the psychosis. I think so. They had an issue with Ted Bundy being a bully as a child, but I do not remember hearing he actually unalived. I believe he unalived cats or something. Maybe I just saw something. I don't know. Well, apparently I have to give the flower and the bee story. A lot of times people don't know where babies come from. They come from the stalk. I don't like cabaret. I think it's depressing. I don't like that. I'm sorry to say it. I like happy tunes. I like fun stuff. I don't like these. I find cabaret is one we didn't mention that is a really good musical. What's the name of it? It's the kids that play gangsters where they shoot each other with the guns with cream pies on it. Oh, what's the name of that? That was a great musical. Was it with Jodie Foster? Bugsy Malone? Was it Bugsy Malone? Yes, Bugsy Malone with Jodie Foster. That was a good movie. I like that. If you haven't watched that, you should try and watch that at some point. Sadly, I can't play anything. They'll copyright strike all of it. But it looks like the full movie is on YouTube. Yes. I don't like West Side Story either. Well, this is a full educational channel. Never watched Sweeney Todd, and I never watched Edward Scissorhands either. I think it's the same character. I haven't watched that one. Do I still have it? It's this channel, Cyber Chick Boston. Newsy is a new one. The other one is the story of Bugsy Malone, but told with children. And instead of weapons, they have Tommy guns that shoots whipped cream. It's a great movie. Megan Fox watched Twin Flames with her locals crew a while ago. Well, maybe some of them will come over and hear when we have someone who is related to a Twin Flamer. I can't remember the songs from it, sadly. But it's a good movie. I liked it. But I can't show you. I'll be copyright strike. My name is Tallulah. I can't remember. But how is it?
So if you really need to, you'll know how to find me. Why? I've made a lot of friends in some exotic places.
That was Jodie Foster singing as I hope that won't get copyright striked. Don't think I ever watched Strictly Ballroom. I'd never watched that La La Land. I never watched it because I started watching the beginning and it was jazz, and I hate jazz music. Should we kick him? Do we have room for someone who hasn't watched Grease? Big Dog, you are disappointing me. Did the state give any evidence on the current case? The last I watched, I was not good. No. They just invented that he chased her down and strangled her with her purse in the closing arguments. Absolutely crazy. I was screaming. My first movie was E.T. I cried. I could have made a very... No, I'm not going to make that comment about starfishes and stuff like that. Hate is a strong word. Well, I hate a lot of things. Oh, Jesus. Can we have a Grease night on Discord, because these heathens haven't seen great movie. I'm starting to block people soon. What about Grease 2? Grease 2 is a dumpster fire inside a volcano filled with crap. Hey, 80s. Your first movie was Jaws. That's 77. That's the year I was born. My first movie was The Shining. Not a movie I would start a kid on. Grease is a good movie. It's the truth. It's the word. It's emotion. Grease is the way we are feeling. No, I admit I hate a lot of things, but you will never say when I can sit and say, well, I really like Boxy Malone, I like Evita, I like Sound of Music, I like Phantom of the Opera as musicals. I don't like Cabaret. You hate all musicals. That is what you hear. You only hear what when I don't like things. I was snuck into a drive-in via the trunk to see my first movies. I've never been in a drive-in. I think we had one, maybe two that I know of when I was a kid. Never in my town. We have a normal movie theater. Then they kind of made some, but I was always, I want to go to the movies and have my popcorn and sit and have good audio. I don't want to sit in a shitty car. I never watched Halloween. I watched Halloween H2O or whatever it's called, the 20-year anniversary. That was a bad movie. I think there was bolos in it. I remember bolos. Yeah, I think there was bolos in that movie. I miss when there was bolos in every movie. My first was one of the Muppet in the cinema, a baby, so I can't remember it. My first was E.T. when I must have been 4, 5, 6 years old when it came out. You need to get these heathens in check. You don't like all the singing. Do you know what there's a lot of in musicals? Singing. Discord is kind of it's kind of Facebook, but only for people who follow my channel. And when you're 50, you can be there, no problem. Sue is in her late 80s, and she's in there all the time, so no problem to figure it out. You just have to make an account, and then you can join our Discord. We have movie nights every Sunday. Sue and the kid will have. They will sit and talk a lot in chat in there. We have all the documents for the cases we're covering. People are sharing their recipes, their dogs. Big Dog will show when he had my merch on, when he was out drinking tequila. You can find all kind of stuff in there, and you will get notified every time we go live because I use it to notify everyone. So yeah. I still don't like The Shining. I think I don't like the scary movies. I like a good scary thriller. And that movie is just psychological as hell. The only movie I can think of with Dudley Moore is the one where he plays an alcoholic. Harvey? No. I don't think I've seen anything else with him. That's a great movie as well. First, a Two of a Kind. Oh. It's not a good one. Not a good one. Well, then you should watch The Birdcage. No, you heard me wrong. I'm 27 years old. The Russians are... I don't know what... maybe. That's actually a good movie. And the special effects are not that bad as I remember it. No, I think everyone heard something wrong. Donnerklumpen. We had a quite hefty girl we played music with. We call her Donnerklumpen. We were mean. Well, we can't be because I'm 27 years old today and you're 23. The new King Kong, we're not talking about all the spin-off and weird stuff, but the one with Jack Black, I really despise that movie. I think it's horrible. How can you make a movie with those budgets and with those stars and you make it so much worse than the 1976 movie, which I believe is... I probably think it's I would put in as a must-see movie at some point in your life. It's one movie that'll stick with you. But the Jack Black one, well, AI can do a lot of stuff. I'm not sure I've seen that movie. She was beautiful. It was just a bad movie, and I don't know, but all the King Kongs, and I don't think what's the Japanese one? Gojira. Yeah, you know what I mean. The Japanese dragon. It's bad movies as well. Stigmata was actually a quite good movie. I never ever watched the Blair Witch Project. I didn't think it looked good. Godzilla. Yes, Godzilla. Yeah, and it was just ridiculous. Yeah, but that's the problem. It's the same problem I have with Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson likes pretty shots and build a story, and it's kind of like he runs out of time to get to the climax because he's building, building, building. Oh fuck, I need to end this. And I think that's one of my biggest gripes about Peter Jackson movies. I think he's amazing at cinematography and getting the right shots and everything, but I just don't like his pacing in movies. Gujira. I wish ABC would play all the Disney movies on Sundays again. Movies like The Shaggy, DA, Hello Down There, and of course everything Don't Nuts. Well, they can't because now Disney have to have all of it on their subscription page, or no one wants to see it because no one wants to see modern Disney movies. Movie questions for all, no cheating. What is a movie, a dish, and a book? What movie? What? I'm not squinting because I can't see. It's because it's my thinking face. That's when I'm squinting, when I'm thinking. Yeah, and I think that's a big problem for a lot of people that they can't handle the big budget because they have to be really creative when you're doing Brain Dead or whatever low budget New Zealand movie that they're doing. But when you have all the money and you can, oh, I want this and I want this and I want this, and you just get too much. That's actually one of the things I liked about the Dome movies, that they had this set of rules so they wouldn't go bloated and the story wouldn't explode all over. Because when you get fame and you get money, you lose track of what's really important, and that's to tell a succinct story. And that's why I don't like the Lord of the Rings movie, because I think they're too long. The books are slow and long as hell as well, but I just don't think it's good cinematography because you have to invest so many hours, and it's fine one night if you're sitting and everything is right, and yeah, that's cool. But I just don't want to do it just to sit down and relax. Shawshank Redemption, I can sit down and watch because I think it's a brilliantly told story. But Walking Simulator 1, 2, 3 are just not good enough to keep me there. And I know everyone else will disagree because, oh, the way they shot and perspective and the elf and I don't care. There's just not enough there to keep me watching it, sadly. I've seen the movies. I didn't watch even though it's a Danish guy who played Hannibal in the series. I didn't watch it because I don't think it ever. Maybe it was on Danish TV3, and most people don't have that. That's kind of the old people channel. Well, I am constipated every time I see you because I just want to fart in your general direction. Don't know that one. The Frighteners is a great Peter Jackson, but that's also a very low budget movie. It's a funny, scary comedy, and it's kind of good. I like it. I don't know, a lot of people have watched that movie, but it's a funny little movie. I am the same way with books and movies. I like it depends on, well, I sadly don't read that much, but I like audiobooks, and I like long audiobooks because I'll listen to it when I'm doing my cardio exercise. But it needs to be a good story. Right now I'm in the Clavel series, so I was listening to Shogun, and then I went on to Taipan, and right now I am at the Gaijin. Probably gonna miss the Rat King because I don't think it's one of his best books, even though it's kind of interesting. And then Noble House. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to do the one about the Iranian revolution either, but I like James Clavell. I think he tells a great story, and there's always something happening. He has a weird way of describing smacks, but that's his way of doing it. But I like James Clavell's books. I think they're great, and I use them when I am doing cardio. But I used to read a lot, but now I stream a lot, so I don't have the time to do it. But I read most history-based or fantasy novels. So yeah. I watched Clowns in a Cornfield recently. I thought it was great. That's probably something Jamie would watch. I never found out what the quiz was. I was infuriated that she just made up that he strangled her with the purse in the end. I hate the state. I hate the defense team. That was horrible. But when the state has all the money, all the power, they shouldn't lie like they were doing. They just made up a story about, hey, he ran after her on his broken foot and strangled her with a purse. No evidence presented at any time of any of that. No testimony elicited by anyone, and they just made it up during the closing arguments. But what the hell is that looking like that? That looks weird. What the hell? No. So I wasn't impressed with the closing arguments. Let's just say that. No, they never got any testimony about her being strangled with. They were asked if there was any signs that the hyoid bone was broken, and she said, but it doesn't need to be. But that's normally when you have a strangulation with something around your neck like that, you will have a broken hyoid bone. That's how you can see if people have hung themselves. So I don't like it. I watched The Replacement Players last night with Keanu Reeves. Oh, yeah, it's just called The Replacements. Funny movie. Another movie that not a lot of people know, but it's a great. If you like sport movies, go watch The Replacements. It's a funny movie, and there's a little romance for you ladies. I haven't seen a verdict yet. No, I haven't seen anything happening. Why the hell does it look so weird? What the hell did I do with? I'm just gonna open up. Did I zoom or something? I think I zoomed in on it. Yeah, I did. That's why it looks so weird. Come on. Where are you at? There you are. Good girl. Whip. 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 Yes, we're back. Maybe it was effective. I think it was effective, but I just don't like it when they lie. If they had any indication that this was happening, I think they should have proven it. I don't like when the state lies in any part of the case. And I think they lied about that story because there's no indication that happened. And again, it makes no sense that she would sit and wait in the car for 50 minutes when he gets treatment. But just before he finishes treatment, she thinks, nah, I'm going to leave. And then he runs after her on her broken foot and kills her. Come on now. I can't swing behind a reasonable doubt. I know my channel, as always, is the only one where we are saying, nah, because Lawn and Crim is 97% guilt. Oh, what happened? What happened? Do we have a verdict? Do we have a verdict? Is there a verdict? Is there a verdict? Yes, we have a verdict. We have a verdict. I have to say sorry. Jemima, can you share it on the Discord? We have a verdict. Only 1 hour. 1 hour only. This will be a guilty verdict, is my prediction. Because it's so fast. Oh, you have to fire it up again then, Harry. Get on it. It's been just about an hour and 10 minutes. So let's say an hour. This will be a guilty verdict. I am sure of it. And I have to get this, and I have to do that, and I have to go share it on Facebook. If you uses Facebook, I have made a Broken Baker Facebook account. I'm not good at using it yet. I'm not good at using any of my platforms. But if you are using that one and you don't use the Twitch thread and you don't use the Discord, I also
that at 4:20 the jury was able to reach a verdict. Is there anything before we bring the jurors in?
4:20.
No, Judge, the state has complied with victims' rights and the victim is present in the courtroom.
4:20.
Mr. Gallo, is anything before we bring the jurors in?
We are just getting a verdict now, Kim.
Oh, sorry, Judge.
All right, send them in.
We already polled the chat, and we had 83% not guilty.
Obviously, but I don't want any helpers from anybody.
No, I'm sorry that me and talking about movies is boring as shit, but yeah. I know what you mean.
All right, have a seat, everybody. All 12 jurors have returned. It's my understanding that the jury has reached a verdict. Who's our presiding juror? Is that correct, ma'am? Yes. All right, if you would hand the materials to Mike, please. Okay, what I'm going to do is read the verdict forms at this time. The verdicts read as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Matthew E. Pahl, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. The second verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Matthew E. Pahl, guilty of hiding a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information. And each is dated today's date, the 4th of November, 2025, and signed by Kathy Meyer, the presiding juror, the foreperson. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do now is poll each one of you. And what that means is I'm going to ask each one of you, I'll read your name. When I read your name, the question that I'm going to ask each one of you is, are these both in fact, your verdicts? And if they are, answer yes, and if not, answer no, okay?
This is not justice. This
Are
is
these
Wisconsin.
both, in fact, your verdicts?
Yes.
Are these 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 both, in fact, your verdicts?
Yes.
Or Heinemann, excuse me. Are these both, in fact, your verdicts?
Yes.
Are these both, in fact, your verdicts?
Yes.
Are these both, in fact, your verdicts?
Yes.
Did I miss anyone in polling? I think I got all 12. Is the state satisfied with the polling of the jury?
Yes, Judge.
Is the defense satisfied with the polling of the jury?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read to you the final instruction. Your service in this case is completed. You do not have to answer questions about the case from anyone other than the court. Additionally, you are under no obligation to maintain secrecy concerning what took place in the jury room, nor are you required to discuss the case with anyone or answer any questions regarding it. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you very much for your time. It's been a while. It's been a number of days. I think we're in day 8. I very much appreciate your service. I very much appreciate your time and the fact that you've taken time away from work and your families and so on. Your service is a difficult service. It's one that's like being drafted, as perhaps you heard me say before. You are going to be excused in just a moment. You can go back and follow Mike's directions. If you wish, you're free to leave, or in fact, I will come back and talk to you if you want to talk to me after this, but you're under no obligation to stick around. Is there anything else before I excuse the jurors, Ms. Gordon?
No, Judge.
Is there anything else, Mr. Galaviz, before I excuse the jurors?
No, sir.
Okay. Again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody stand for the jurors, please. All right, have a seat, everybody. Thank you. All right, the verdict forms and the unexecuted verdict forms will be available for everybody's review. And is there anything from the state at this juncture?
It would move for judgment on the verdicts.
All right, and either Mr. Wolf or Mr. Galaviz, anything?
Your Honor, I'll move for judgment notwithstanding the verdict. No further argument.
Okay, I will enter judgment on the verdicts at this time, finding that the verdicts of the jury are certainly reasonable under the facts and circumstances of the case. Understanding it was a circumstantial case, understanding that it took a while for the state to present their evidence, and understanding as well the defense testimony that was contrary to what some of the witnesses from the state presented. It appears to this court that any reasonable jury could come up with these same verdicts. So judgment will be entered on the verdicts. Having said that, are the parties available for sentencing next week, or does the defense need more time?
Judge, we would be available this week if the court would be willing to do something later this week.
I understand.
And Layla is in town until the end of the week. She was planning to stay through the end of the trial, but then after that, she will be returning home out of state.
Out of state? Is it in contiguous states or farther than that?
Further than that.
Okay. But again, I understand that I take those things into consideration, but I also take into consideration these are serious charges. And Mr. Wolf or Mr. Galavis, and they may need time to prepare things. Is anybody asking for a pre-sentence investigation?
I'm sorry?
Nobody, is anybody asking for a pre-sentence investigation? Is the state making such a request?
No, Judge.
All right. My preference is next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. And if, I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect by using somebody's first name, but if she wishes to appear by Zoom, that's certainly available as well. It gives the parties time to prepare.
Don't watch the closing arguments. They were absolutely horrendous.
Ms. Leyla
Yes.
Pavlons would like to speak at sentencing. She's not comfortable speaking over Zoom, but she would like to be present and speak.
I understand, and again, I'm balancing the defense ability to prepare for sentencing and her rights as a victim as well. I'm taking these things into consideration. That's why I'm offering days either this week or next week.
Your Honor, I'd ask for the afternoon of the 12th.
That is what day?
Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay, I understand. Layla's, is the state available?
Both Attorney Opper and I are at a training next week. Attorney Opper is presenting on Wednesday in Green Bay, so we're not available on Wednesday.
Okay.
That's why we were asking for this week.
All right.
I can do Tuesday afternoon as well.
State available? Tuesday morning? No? I'll give another date. I mean, I could give more time. If that's not convenient for the state, it's not convenient.
I mean, it's not
Okay,
convenient for the
all right.
state.
We'll set another date. We'll go off the record for scheduling.
You are not the only one. I hate victim impact statements. Victim impact statements has nothing to do in a courtroom because a courtroom is about the law. It's not about revenge. It is to get justice for the victim, not to make the parents feel that they got some kind of revenge. I don't mind that they get to write a letter to someone, but it should never, ever be before sentencing. Because if you cry enough, can you then change the judge's mind? You should not be able to do that. And you should not be able to be the kid of someone who unalives someone and go in and cry and say, well, my daddy should be out in 15 years. Victim impact statements is emotions. The law has no emotions. The law is blind. That's why she wears a blindfold. The law should only be based on facts. Emotions are not facts. So I hate victim impact statements, especially because they will do this, oh, holier than thou, my hand on the Bible, and we are all good Christians, and I forgive you, but the Lord will hurt you, and all of this. At the same time, your kid didn't go to Sunday school. Let's just say it in that way. He probably got himself into a lot of trouble. And I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them because I don't believe that it's fair in a courtroom. Courtroom. Maybe they just didn't have others. Maybe it was a Cosgrove thing that everyone else said no, thank you. They should absolutely be able to write to the judge and say whatever they want. I disagree because the family is not the one running the trial. The law is the one running the trial. It's like the judge said in the Koberger trial, stop writing me. You have no input on the case. It's not for the family to get revenge. And that is what it turns into when you do the victim impact statements. I think it's a ridiculous thing. But again, I come from a justice system where we don't have any of that. because we are based solely on the law. And I believe as long as the law is blind, it doesn't matter who can cry for you or who can scream at you. Justice should be equal. In Denmark, we would say the law should be equal for Thor and Loki, or for Odin and Loki. No matter how high or how low you are, the law should always treat you the same. Is it true? Absolutely not. But it should be. No matter how good your family are at influencing people, that should not have any bearing on your sentencing. No matter how bad the family is at influencing someone, it shouldn't have a bearing. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't like that you put emotion into a trial. The justice system is there to give you justice. They are not there to give you revenge. And that's why I have a big dislike for victim impact statements, especially the ones where the family take it way too far. If they just came in and said, well, Crispy was a very nice lady. She was a good mother. We really liked her. That would be fine. But when they then go into the courtroom and stand there and say, well, we found Jesus and Jesus told us to forgive you and we forgive you, but may you burn in hell forever. And I hate you. And it's hypocritical in my opinion, because that's sadly what we see in a lot of cases. I have to disagree. Sentencing is based on aggravating and mitigating circumstances. I once covered a double homicide and all 8 baby mamas of the defendant brought in their babies, no DP. And I think that's wrong. Why? Because he is able to bang 8 ladies. Shouldn't he get the same sentencing as someone who wasn't able to do that? Justice is blind, in my opinion. Yes. And apparently it wasn't the co-counsel who was talking to the lawyer. We heard that during closing statement. It was actually him talking to them about facts that they missed. This is Wisconsin. Wisconsin is one of my most disliked states watching trials, and I've seen the Zachariah Anderson case, the Nicholas Mew case, and this case, and all of them I haven't liked. I'm sorry if you are a Wisconsinite, your juries suck. Leslie Bowes won her election, making her the DA now. Oh, so that's why Sue is retired. Oh, interesting. I don't like victim impact statements. Many raved about the Idaho Falls sister statement. I thought it was gross, condemning someone for unaliving, but encouraging jail grape. Yeah, because then it's a revenge thing again. And this is not what the law is. The law is there to get justice. I think as we forget a lot about, hey, everyone should be viewed as innocent until proven guilty, you also need to remember that it's not your personal revenge that this case is about. It's to get you closure, and it's to get justice for the family member you have lost. But it's not for you to get revenge. That's not what the law is about. But a lot of people will see it that way, especially if it's a murder case or something with kids. They want that justice. My murder case, I had the brother of the deceased was so dumb that he put on Facebook, I believe it was, the day before, that he was going to the courtroom the next day and getting his own justice. That's really dumb. We had a lot of police officers in that courtroom that day. I think that's the only time I've ever been through a metal detector in our courthouse. We normally don't have it unless it's a very high profile case, most likely some gang related case. But that day we had to walk through a metal detector. And funny enough, the neighbor who were there to witness the one who went in and gave her CPR after he knocked on her door and said, "I did something bad." Yeah, you did. Had brought a knife, and the police officer was like, "What the hell is this?" "Yeah, I'm afraid of him." Well, I'll just close my eyes, and then I'll make sure this disappears, and we don't talk about it. That wasn't nice of him, because this guy was scared, really scared of him, because he came into the apartment and saw how badly he had beaten this woman. That was not a fun day at the job. They should have to do them after sentencing. Then they still get to confront. This is absolutely, I wouldn't mind. Okay, Zach, because of all your sodomy, you are now facing this. Bring in the cows. And then the cows can talk about Zach after he has gotten his conviction. I would have no problem with that. No problem. Problem is, it comes before um, it comes before the sentencing. Damn big plane crash in Louisville sky. Haven't said size of plane, but the fire shoots. Oh, that's not good. I don't like to hear about it, because I was thinking about, I want to go to America soon again. I should. I wish I had fancy friends so I could do like a Christmas meetup, and I want to see American Christmas decorations and stuff like that. Never seen that. He got old really fast, really fast. But he was an old man. But it's midnight, y'all, and it's been a long day. It's been another wonderful stream with all of you wonderful people hanging out. I'm going to check out that the audio is okay in that preacher trial, and we'll then run it on delay, so I better can manage my sleeping hours, because these midnight streams, I won't be sleeping till 1:30 or something like that, and I just can't run, especially now in the winter time where I start to get my winter depression. I can't run these crazy hours. I'll probably do it anyway, but we will do the other one on delay if it's okay with all of you. If it's a decent audio. I was looking at that teenage trial that I also had up as a potential. The audio is okay-ish, but there's just that weird one where the microphone on the camera seems to be picking up, and it's just not super good, but it's better than nothing. And remember, if you want to go support a smaller channel and not as well known in our little community, Cyberchick Boston is out there. And oh, I shared my own link. I'm such an idiot. That's because well, sorry. Cyberchick Boston, just put her on, and you can go and support her. I will be reaching out to her to talk about the twin flame thing whenever we can find a day to talk about that. So a lot of things in the pipelines. So that's something to look forward to. I also have winter depression. I don't get depressed. I just get for the next 4 months. The audio was good at the pastor trial. Okay, we might be able to run that one. Zach, behave. And I'm going to I'm going to shove you all over to the wonderful AJ. Go and say, "Hey, Carmen, what up?" And say, "Gabby Baker says."